Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fall 2024 Collegiate Chess League. I'm your host, Jules Gambit. This is my co-host, Grandmaster Benjamin Bach. How are you doing today, Ben?
Doing great, Jules, and it's good to be back with you for another week of Collegiate Chess. And Jules, this week is not like the others. It's the start of the playoffs.
It is the start of the playoffs. I can't believe it's been that many weeks so far, but we have a lot of exciting games ahead of us. Do you have a favorite match you're looking forward to seeing today?
I think both matches will be exciting. I mean, we have Mizzou versus Yale, and we also will have SLU versus Athens. So both matches are great.
Absolutely, and I'm really excited to see how the matches go today. We'll talk a little bit about the match format. It's the same as always, but this is 4 versus 4 team chess. All boards are going to play each other. The time control is blitz 5+2. First to 8.5 points wins the match. 1 point per win, half a point per draw, and tie breaks if the score is tied, but we haven't had any ties yet.
No, we haven't, but yeah, we are in the playoffs part of the season. You know, the matches are getting closer and closer, so maybe this week or next week we will see some matches going down to the wire, and we might see some playoffs, some tie breaks, sorry.
We might see some tie breaks, and as we can see the standings right now, SRM in the lead, tied with Texas Rio Grande. They've been doing great. SLU is struggling a little bit, but they are in the playoffs 4-3, and they have an important match coming up as well. We're also going to see Yale play a little bit later, so that will be really fun and exciting. But first, I believe it's your alma mater.
Yeah, so St. Louis University is my alma mater. And yeah, like you said, it's all about making it into the playoffs. Now the teams start from scratch. The teams that made it into the top two have a slight advantage as they're seeded into the semis. But yeah, they all start from scratch once again. So we'll see who's going to win. Also, the teams that win today move on to the semis, and there they will already be guaranteed some cash. Unfortunately, the teams that lose today will be left empty-handed. So lots at stake. And yeah, it's just do or die now, Jules.
Absolutely. It's a very important time. And we want to show you the playoffs bracket so you can kind of see how it's going to go. We have the quarterfinals right now. As you can see, the teams going against each other in the quarterfinals. If they make it through, they'll go to the semifinals. Then there'll be the finals, and if needed, a third place match. So we've had a lot of people creating their own brackets on Chess.com for the prize of a free membership. We'll see how that goes. So if you submitted those, wish you best of luck. But we'll see. I don't know. It could be really anyone's season.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll see what's going to happen. I feel like Mizzou should be the favorite against Yale. And then I also think SLU should be the favorite against Athens. But you never know what's going to happen in these playoff matches. You also don't know what shape the players are in. Some of them are busy playing over the board. Maybe they're not able to make it. Some have other plans on the weekend. So it always depends on how the players show up and what kind of form they show on game day.
Exactly. We do know a lot of them are playing over the board currently. But I don't know, CCL is important to a lot of players. Speaking of, it's also important to a lot of campuses. So we actually have a cool little statistic for you here of these are new members. So the top new members of each school, and Pawnee University signed up 571 members to CCL this year. So this is kind of crazy if you look at University of Benin. 313 new members, Harvard College, 306 members, Australian National University, 284 new members, and then Veer, 279 members. So that's a lot of new members. If you want to look into signing up, !CAP in chat. I think it'll be really exciting to see how future seasons of CCL are going to go with all these new signups.
Yeah, no, it's great to see. I mean, the CCL is only growing with every year. So, hey, if you like playing chess, try to join your chess club at your university. Maybe they even have a chess team, and you can go to tournaments like the Pan-Ams. If there's not a chess club, then feel free to start one, and maybe your team can play in the CCL. You can start it in the lower division and work your way up to the higher division. So, highly encourage everyone to check it out. I mean, I think it's a great way to connect with friends and play some chess.
Absolutely. It's actually how I got my start streaming and got my start in general. I was part of CCL, so highly recommend. 10 out of 10. But I think it's going to be pretty interesting to look at the matches we have going on today. So, I think we have Missouri versus Yale, and this is going to be kind of a close match in my opinion, but Mizzou, as you said, might have the slight edge. So we have Antipov, who is going to be their board 1, Checa is Yale's board 1, Raja board 2, Guo board 2 for Yale, Luca board 3 for Missouri, Maximilian Liu board 3 for Yale, and then finally Isaac board 4 for Missouri, and Lyndon Lee board 4 for Yale. So it's kind of a close matchup here.
It's a close one, but I feel like Mizzou should definitely be the favorites, because the one problem that Yale's having, I mean, they have GMs on boards 1 and 2, they have an NM on board 4, whereas Mizzou is a little bit more well-rounded. Anyway, we are off, and here we see a Nims Indian with an early pawn sacrifice by Antipov. This is actually what I had against him last year in the CCL. In that game, I played the move Queen F3, but Queen G3 by Lyndon Lee, showing some preparation. And Jules, if I'm not mistaken, Lyndon Lee, isn't that Alice's Lee older brother?
Yes, I believe that's true. That is Alice Lee's older brother. So we'll see how he's going to be doing here, but always good to see chess in the family.
Absolutely. And look at that. Talking about opening preparation, look at what Maximilian Liu just did against Harshit Raya in the top right-hand corner. He goes 1 knight h3, e5 by Harshit, and then g3. Wow, what an opening. What do you make of this?
Well, that's definitely something. I mean, it almost feels like a troll, but it's actually not that bad. I mean, the structure does not seem awful. Maybe that knight is probably looking to get into the action sometime soon, but I don't know. Maybe he's just trying to get his opponent out of theory.
Yeah, we'll see how this is going to go, but a bit of a risky opening strategy for sure by Maximilian. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, the game has also started, the game between Luca and Arthur Guo. There we have a bit of a collar setup with white going d4, c4, e3, and b3, and black almost copying with the bishop on e7 instead of d3. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we also have started, and we have a French.
That's true. I hate playing against the French opening. I really hate it. I'm still struggling with it, so maybe I'll be able to find a good line against it, but I don't know if any chatters have a particular opening that
So
they
why
just
do you
hate
not
playing
like
against.
the French?
It's so hard to play against, and it's hard to play and play against. No one's having fun. You get these awful pawns you have to figure out what to do with, and everyone's just trapped and unhappy, basically.
So I guess you find it difficult because the positions often are fairly closed. Is that the issue?
Yeah, fairly closed, and there's always that f6 pawn break you have to worry about. Just like a lot to think about in that opening.
Right. No, it makes perfect sense. So we'll see how that game is going to develop. Lots of action on the board. So Antipov sacrificed a pawn, but he is banking on compensation given the fact that White's king is in the middle. And Lyndon Lee goes for queenside castles. Interesting decision there. The king probably is safer there than in the middle, but it's also a little bit exposed on the queen side. Maximilian Liu right now is a little bit better, so his opening experiment is paying off. And Luka Budisalvic also looks to be a little bit better. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we have an exchange French. So pretty quiet stuff there.
Yeah, I heard a joke once how to ensure that no one ever plays the French against you again is to play the exchange French. Have it show up in your files and no one will ever play the French against you. So there's a lot of hate for that opening as well, but it can create these quiet positions where you slowly want to outplay your opponent, which might be just a general thought. Avoid theory, just try to go for a slower game. I'm not sure how well that will do against his opponent, though.
Right. Yeah, we'll see how all of the games are going to develop. But Jules, do you want to have a look at the game on the first board between Lyndon Lee and Antipov? As that one is looking pretty interesting.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Right, so at first glance, White is holding a lot of trumps. White is up a pawn here, the c pawn. And White also has the bishop pair. However, the one issue that White has is the king on c1. And the computer hates that move knight f5.
Which is interesting.
Why though? I mean, I'm even wondering, can Black take? Sacrifice the queen, because look at this. If you take, Black would throw in checkmate on e1. And I don't know how you will stop that. I mean, yeah, and Antipov goes for it. Rook e1 checkmate.
Oh no, and that's just such a quick mate. Oh no. And it feels like it should work too, but you have to go for it. Even if you see it doesn't work, you have to go for it after you play that move. Otherwise, you're just down a piece. But that is not good there.
That is rough, but yeah, I don't see what you should do. I mean, rook e1 is a big threat. I don't see a good way to stop it. I mean, because if you go bishop e3, that allows knight b3. So nice win there by Antipov. We tune in at exactly the right moment. So let's go back to the bird's eye view. and see what is happening on the other boards. As Mizzou takes a lead, all right, so Maximilian still a little bit better, Luca also a bit better, and the last board seems fairly balanced. But yeah, Mizzou can be happy that they're up in the match right now.
Yeah, look at Lyndon's face of pure pain right now. That is not how you want to lose your first game. It's kind of tough with those tactics. But yeah,
Hmm.
it seems Mizzou is up the first point, so Yale will need to get that back somewhere, which, there's still a lot of life in all the boards.
Absolutely, yeah, they definitely have chances still for a comeback. And the good thing for them is that their board four lost. The board four lost to board one, so on paper that's a result that's very much possible. It's not like their board one losing to the other team's board four. That's when you start having a bit of a crisis. But overall, Mizzou, I think, is doing pretty well. They're up in the match. Board two, maybe they're a tiny bit worse, but I feel like on the other boards, they are, well, Ishik making a very committal decision. He also goes queenside castles, and we just saw how that could backfire.
Yeah, it definitely can backfire, but also it creates such interesting games having that queenside castle, very sharp attacking games. So I don't blame him for wanting to have a little fun there.
Hmm. Absolutely. And he goes f4, pushing his f pawn up the board with ideas to go f5 to entomb that bishop or knight of three. So let's see what's going to happen. But I think overall, Checa can be happy that he's got a double edged game. I mean, he's the board one for Yale, and he's going to have to score points for them to have a chance.
Absolutely. And we keep seeing him playing in what looks like Hogwarts. I think it's their library, but he always has the most dramatic backdrops behind him when we tune in.
Hmm. Yep. So let's have a look at Checa's game, as that one I think is going to be really interesting. Again, we have opposite side castling, white having the king on the queen side. Black's king is nicely tucked in on the queen side. And white just played queen to g3 with ideas to maybe go bishop h6, although I think for the moment that can comfortably be met with knight g4 or bishop g4. So let's see how Checa is going to continue. I mean, what he can do, he can also just start pushing pawns on the queen side to open up files on that side of the board.
By the way, huge shout out to St. Louis Chess Club. I think they're rooting for Mizzou in the YouTube chat there. We will see what happens here, but yeah, I do agree with you, Ben, that those pawn pushes look a little bit threatening, especially since we usually love to make the move a3 or h3, but sometimes it's actually a bad thing when those pawn pushes come because you're going to have to answer to it pretty quickly. It almost speeds up the attack.
Right, so b5 by Checa, I mean, logical choice. He wants to go b4. I think now for Ishik, I mean, we were saying ideas like bishop h6 are not that effective as black as knight g4, but a move that does make sense to me is queen h4, putting pressure on that knight on f6, as that knight on f6 is defending the pawn on h7. So queen h4 would make a lot of sense to me here for Ishik, or perhaps just continuing development with knight f3, and that's what he does.
Yeah. All right, we see the knight develop to f3. It feels a little... It all feels a little slow. I almost like black's attack more here. Despite what eval says, I just feel like it's a bit faster, but you do have all the pieces moving into the king side, which I guess could pay off as long as you're not absolutely destroyed in a few moves.
Mm-hmm. Right, but Checa is down quite significantly on the clock. Almost a minute. He goes b4. Now I expect a4 by Ishik, and yes, the great to see St. Louis Chess Club in the YouTube chat. The thing is, the chess program at St. Louis University and the program at Mizzou, they're both kind of initiatives through the St. Louis Chess Club. So big shout out to them. I mean, for all their generosity and support. And yeah, that's why they're rooting for Mizzou. And I'm sure they're also going to be rooting for SLU later on.
That makes a lot of sense. So thank you, St. Louis. Always nice to see some local rooting. But yeah, it does make a lot of sense to close up this position with a4. Maybe b3, although it might not even be necessary right now, because if they try to push that pawn, you can always just close it up. Again, now, I don't know. Now it looks like white might have a bit of a quicker attack. Yeah, you're allowing f5 now that there's no pin. I don't know. How did this turn so quickly?
Yeah, I feel like bishop e7 is perhaps just a little bit too passive. He's neutralizing the pin, but now Izhik goes f5, pushing that bishop away, bishop c8, and knight f4. And all of a sudden, all of white's pieces are pretty active. Black is still having these pieces on the back rank, the rook on e8, knight on b8, and the bishop on c8. So I really like Izhik's chances here. Maybe rook he1 next. And also, Checa is a little bit low on time. And oh, the computer does not seem to like queen c7. Maybe just rook e1?
I'm wondering if there's some sort of tactic, but yeah, it might just be something slow like rook e1. That queen is in a pin, so I was wondering if maybe there was a knight move, an intermediate move, but I don't think there is. Yeah, it might just be a little bit too slow. And now game is so important for Checa because he is their board one. He needs to get the win here. If he starts off with a loss, this does not look good for Yale.
Right, so Izhik goes for bishop takes f6 and knight h5, hitting the bishop on f6. I guess Checa now has to go queen d8. Queen e7 runs into rook he1. So this game is heating up. But Jules, we also have a lot of action on the other boards. Do you want to have a look at the bird's eye view to have an overlook of what's happening?
Yeah, we can definitely take a look.
So I think Mizzou is doing great on all of the boards. They're up 1-0. Harshid looks to be winning on board number 2. He's up a pawn, and all of the other pawns for white are collapsing. Luka is crushing it with white. And then Izhik is also crushing it. So we might be looking at a 4-0 lead for Mizzou after the first round.
If that's what happens for Mizzou, I don't think Yale can come back from that. That would be such a huge, devastating first round for them, especially since the teams are not that unevenly matched.
Yep, and we were talking earlier how we have the St. Louis Chess Club in the chat. They're not the only big channel we have in the chat. We also have C Squared, the channel led by head coach of Mizzou, Christian Kurila. So Christian, great to have you here. Appreciate all the great work he and Fabiana are doing with their podcast. It's an honor to have him in the chat, and I'm sure, of course, he's rooting for his own team as they're taking on Yale.
Absolutely. Nice to have them in chat. It's cool to see all of the support here. Okay. I'm kind of wondering what the tactic... It feels like you should just open up the king side in Checa's game.
Right, but even if you continue with f6 in the next couple of moves, you bury this bishop on h8 alive, so that is one plan. Another plan is h4, h5, blast things open on the king side, and I think black's counterplay on the queen side is going to be way too slow. All right, so queen g4. Yeah, I don't see Checa surviving this one. Oh, in the meantime, though, it looks like Luka has lost his advantage, so maybe Arthur can hold a draw to keep Yale in the match for now.
Yeah, which is absolutely what needs to happen. And if you look at the time difference too, it's about 10 seconds to 30 seconds, which isn't the biggest time difference, but when you get to a kind of drawish position like this, that can make a huge difference. But we'll see how that ends up going. Also, it seems like all the boards there's time pressure. Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a beautiful checkmate though. Look at that.
Right. So yeah, nice win there by Izhik. As Mizzou takes a 2-0 lead. In the meantime, Luka's game looks like a draw. We have opposite color bishops there. And Harshid is winning against Maximilian, but it's not... Oh, wait. No, wait. Harshid completely threw it. He's losing now as white managed to pick up black's pass pawn, and now white is a very strong a-pawn on the queen side.
Oh, wow. And that's what happens when you get so low on time. We'll see what's going to happen, but that might be what Yale needs to stay in the mix because Mizzou is absolutely dominating right now, 2-0. And also their first board just lost, which is really devastating for round one.
Right. But yeah, so Maximilian won his game, keeping this one close, and maybe Arthur Go can win as well. If Arthur wins this one, we would be looking at a tie. Jules, that would be quite incredible, as at some point we were thinking that maybe Mizzou could sweep the first round.
Yeah, that would be insane, especially with the losses we've had here. It would be like there's upsets on almost every board. But yeah, it's really up to Arthur Guo to be able to win this game.
Yeah, but I think he just messed it up. I mean, now I think white can pick up this pawn over here. It should be a draw now for black. Sorry, for white, but not super easy yet.
That is still a very doable score, 2.5 to 1.5. Obviously, Arthur Guo is going to want to go for the win, not to start with a little bit of a disadvantage, but it is a lot better than what we were seeing before for Yale. Mizzou off to a really strong start.
Yeah, but it looks like he messed it up. The problem right now is that you cannot. I mean, the moment you take the pawn on a2, you're gonna hang that pawn on b4. Yes, you can go bishop f8 to hang on to this pawn, but then still, if you take here, white goes g7, deflecting the bishop, picking up the pawn on b4. So I don't think there's a way for Arthur Go to win this one.
But he's taking his time. He's thinking he has to make sure not to take too much time, has to watch his clock so he doesn't flag. But yes, it looks like this is going to be a draw, and that is a nice save found.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to make. Oh yeah, g7, and that's a draw. So great save there by Luca as Mizzou takes the lead going out of the first round.
Absolutely. That was a great save there by Luca. Found exactly what he needed to. I believe is 2.5, 1.5. So that is not the start that Yale wanted, but is not the worst start for them. Mizzou is probably a little bit happy with that first round. We'll see exactly where it goes from here, but we've had some surprising games so far. We'll look at the player performance.
Yep, no, absolutely. I think both teams cannot be too unhappy about the first round. I mean, Mizzou takes the lead, but I feel like it should have been a bigger one. I mean, Harshid was winning, he lost, and Luca was also winning at one point, but at some point he was also losing. So it is what it is. They take the lead, and yeah, for Yale, at least they're still in it.
Yeah, this was definitely a really crazy round. As we saw, the board one for Yale lost, the board four for Mizzou won. A little bit of upsets, but it's still only round one. It is still very, very close. Both teams will have to bring their A game going into round two. Do you have any preliminary predictions, Ben?
I think Mizzou is going to win. I mean, they're the big favorites. They have GMs on the first three boards and IM on board number 4. And the problem really for Yale is a little bit that they have 2 GMs. They have one IM, but then they have an NM on board number 4. So I think overall Mizzou is just a little bit better on all of the boards.
Yeah, this does seem like an accurate prediction, although anything can happen there. As we're going to see, we're going to have the boards a little bit closer this round. For round two, it's going to be Antipov versus Liu, Raja versus Lee, Luca versus Nicolas Checa, and Isaac versus Arthur. So I don't know, Yale's going to need to get an extra point there if they want to tie it up. We'll see if they can do it.
And we are off to round number 2. So on the first board between Antipov and Maximilian Liu, we see an exchange Caro-Kann with black going for a kingside fianchetto. Now the bishop on g7 has its pros and cons. Often it's a little bit blocked in by the pawns on d4 and c3. And so I think Antipov perhaps is a little bit better here out of the opening.
Yeah, it does absolutely look like they're a little bit better there out of the opening. I also kind of like the structure. I play it myself. I feel like it creates a lot of interesting games. I usually see this with a particular kind of blitzy Caro-Kann line I play, but I've also seen it in a lot of other lines as well. And I don't know, I think it can be a lot more fun for white to play than for black to play.
Yeah, and also it should be mentioned that Mikhail Antipov is a second for Fabiano Caruana. He always does a great job for him, and that's part of the reason why Fabiano gets good positions out of the opening. And that is also the reason why Antipov is such a dangerous player himself, especially with the white pieces. He basically has Fabiano's repertoire. He plays 1e4, puts a lot of pressure, and yeah, he's a tough opponent, and that's what he's showing here, as he already has quite a significant advantage here out of the opening.
Yeah, his prep is always great, as we've seen. HVB Bat, thank you so much for subscribing. You are awesome. Really appreciate all the support. But yeah, preparing is so important. And a lot of these players will go into this match and just wing it. Some others will prep. But especially as the quarterfinals and then finals, semifinals, finals go on, I think we're going to see a lot more players start prepping individually for their opponents.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think as the matches become more important, maybe especially like for the finals, we might see some preparation. All right, so interesting choice here by Maximilian. He goes queen b6, and he's now allowing 2 pairs of isolated double pawns, and that's what Antipov does. He trades on b6 and trades on d5 and d6, and look at this. Black now has isolated pawns on d5 and d6, and on b6 and b7, so I really like Antipov's chances here as he takes us into the endgame. But I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Talia, who we have in the chat. Talia, she's a player on the SLU's women's team. So she said that she's just hanging out here until the SLU match starts, and I'm sure she's also going to be rooting for the SLU team.
Hi, Talia. I have gone to a woman's night of hers that she's taught at St. Louis, I believe. So she is awesome. Big shout out to her. Speaking of all, I want to offer a great opportunity with you all. Thanks to our sponsors at Susquehanna. They're inviting current freshmen and sophomores to join their Susquehanna Discovery Days, where you'll explore what a career in quantitative trading and finance could be like. You may have heard this is a great industry to explore to utilize your gaming skills. Some Discovery Days are virtual and others are in person at their Philadelphia headquarters. Flights and accommodations provided if needed. Exclamation mark Discovery to apply. Definitely a great opportunity, so if you fit the criteria, you should look into it.
Right. Okay. So some interesting decisions here. We see a trade of knights in f4 by Antipov. I think his idea is to go knight g2 to e3 to pressure that pawn on d5, and then he can also follow with, let's say, king d2, bishop e2, and bishop f3 to put some more pressure. Black has the bishop pair, but the bishops are not really operating to their full potential. So I don't know. It's looking tough for Maximilian with all of these weaknesses.
Yes, interesting to see a bishop pair not be an advantage, which is something we usually hear a lot in the endgame, but it makes sense in these closed positions. Knights sometimes are better. Also, with that, I don't even know what you call that structure. Is it like a pawn wall or something? A pawn median? I don't even know, but that cannot be fun in an endgame.
You mean the pawns for black in the middle here?
Yes.
Or
Is there even like for doubled pawns? Is
um,
there even
there
a
is
word?
a there is a for isolated double pawns. I think when you have pawns on e4 and e3, I think it's called the Irish center. But yeah, it's not looking pretty here for Maximilian. Double pawns are not so much a problem in and of itself, and if you can magically move that pawn from d6 to c6, everything is fine, right? You actually maybe a little bit better. But now, like the b pawns are weak, and especially the d pawns are weak, especially that pawn on d5, as white can easily attack it, and it's just hard for black to hang on to it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it means that also the bishops will be kind of trapped defending. Also, there is nowhere they can really go. That move f4 was really nice because now that bishop is kind of stuck on h6. It's going to be a bit difficult to maneuver.
Right, so check here by Maximilian. Okay, let's see where Mikhail is going to go with the king. He goes to f2. And again, his plan is to go knight g2 and knight e3. And it's always annoying when you know what your opponent is going to do, but you don't know what to do against it, right? Like, Mikhail's plan is very clear, putting the knight on e3, eventually maybe bishop here. Maximilian sees it coming, but yeah, I also don't see what he can do about it.
Yeah, it seems he'll have to do his best to hold that draw. Do we want to check out bird's eye view?
Yeah, let's go to the bird's eye view and see what's happening in the other games. So, oh, Jules, look at this. We have a lot of action on board number 2 as Harshit Raja sacrificed a piece to keep black's king in the middle. He just played bishop d6, stopping black from castling. And if he has the chance, he would love to follow up with a check on e1 with either rook. But, the computer is giving black an advantage. Then on board number 3, that's looking pretty even. Yeah, materials even there. And then on board number 4, it's also looking pretty even between Arthur Groh and Ishik.
Yeah, I think it could be anyone's game, and this might be the point that Yale needs to get even, or Mizzou could take a stronger lead. So every single player is really going to need to bring their A game here. Is there a particularly sharp position that you're looking at?
No, I think, well, Harshit's game is definitely sharp. Again, he is down a piece for the moment, but again, black's king is in the middle, and it's really hard for black to get out of the middle of the board.
Yeah, that seems a little bit unfortunate. It is difficult for them to get out of the middle of the board, and that's usually a sign of an opening gone like drastically wrong when your king's stuck in the middle like that. But I do know that sometimes it allows for an attack, although I don't think this is one of those positions.
Right, right. So we'll see what's going to happen. d4 just played by Raja, kicking the knight away. In the meantime, I think Antipov should be close to winning. Right now, he goes bishop d1 to f3 to pressure that pawn on d5, and I think it's just a matter of time until Maximilian is going to collapse. Really nice endgame masterclass here by Antipov, as it looks like he's going to push Mizzou further ahead.
Yeah, just a very, very strong endgame, which again is what these grandmasters do best. So that's exactly what he's going for. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens on these boards. Are there any boards in particular you think Yale could gain back their point?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, right now Mizzou is looking better on all of the boards. I mean, well, the game between Harshid and Lyndon Lee is pretty exciting. Perhaps we can go to that one again. White's down a piece, but has a big attack.
Yeah, we can definitely take a look at that one. I mean, that is one of the hardest positions, right? When you're down a piece, you have a big attack because you want to have momentum in every single move. You don't want to mess it up, but at the same time, sometimes it's tough to have those forcing moves every single moment. So, I don't know. This is where people end up using a lot of time and getting into time pressure.
Yeah, overall, though, it seems like a pretty hard position for Lyndon Lee to play. He's also now down a minute on the clock. And I feel like for Harshid, yes, he's down a piece and he needs to find accurate moves. He does have 2 pawns. He has a very strong bishop pair. So overall, I really like his chances. And this king is really trapped in the middle. And because the king is trapped in the middle, it's also difficult for black to bring this rook on a8 into the game. So let's see what Lyndon is going to do. I feel like maybe a move like queen f5 makes sense, or taking the pawn on d4. The computer is pointing out bishop takes c6, but I wonder what the follow-up would be in case of bishop takes f2.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty complicated line, but maybe at the end of it you have something. Though I would like to bet that he's not going to go for that because that seems extraordinarily complicated. What do
Right,
you
I
think?
guess I think that's just a line white should go for. So bishop takes c6, bishop takes f2, queen takes f2, knight takes f2, bishop takes d7, king takes d7, take. And then black takes here, and then maybe rook 81, followed by rook e7. Well, anyway, Harshid has gone into it. I
Ooh.
think now all of these moves are forced. I don't think you can take here, as white probably takes an f7 or like queen d4 with a strong attack.
But that's definitely what he's calculating, although he only has 46 seconds. So Lyndon Lee really needs to move quickly. But again, this is one of those positions you definitely want to take your time. He probably does not want to go for that queen trade. So he's definitely calculating queen takes just to see if he can avoid that.
Oh, wow, he takes on d6. I think that one's definitely better
Interesting.
than queen takes c6 and rook 81 quickly by Raja. Right, so now white's going to take, and I guess rook f6, attacking the knight. And yet, oh wait, there's knight g4. Wow, bishop takes b7. That is not an easy move to find. Let's see if Harshit will find it.
That is quite the line there. And I guess the time could tick. This is one of those moments where you really want to have a little bit more time than your opponent. But I think he's going to spend his time trying to find it. Okay, so that is the line you suggested. And now we have knight g4 threatening the rook.
Knight g4, and yeah, things are pretty sharp. You can take an f7, then king takes c6, and I think black is fine. There's also rook e7 check, and then I guess black is going to have to go to d8, rook d7, king c8, rook f7, b takes c6, rook c7 with a draw. I don't know. Let's see if either player has anything better.
Yeah, it seems like that's the line he's going for. Yeah, and if that rook takes on f7, you might have that per pet. Maybe that's the only thing you can really go for here.
I think that's what you're going to have to go for. So let's see what Harshit is going to do. By the way, we have some more results. Antipov won his game with the white pieces, and we have a draw in the game between Checa and Luka. So right now, Mizzou is having a 2-point lead.
That is huge for Mizzou. Yeah, it seems they're doing very well. They're on. They ate their Wheaties today. They woke up, they're ready to play. So that's exactly what that team needs. I mean, I don't know.
Right, okay, I like what Harshit is doing here. He took an f7 with the other rook, and now he can take on g6. So interesting imbalance here. Black has a knight and 2 rooks, and white has 2 rooks, but white also has 3 pawns, and the king is still a little bit stuck on d8. So this game can really go either way, but overall, I like Raja's chances.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to keep the game going. I mean, it could easily backfire if he's not careful, but at the same time, that was a really nice move with rook e8. I mean, you have to get out of some sort of mating net.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now I think the main challenge for black is getting this rook into the game, the b8 rook. Let's see, is Raja, maybe he'll just take the draw as his team is ahead.
He has 5 seconds. He has to decide pretty quickly. Oh, and he's going to keep the game going forward. All right.
Well,
Yeah,
the
that might
computer
not
does
have
not
been the
like
best
that
decision.
one. With a rook. Okay, so now I can take an h5, I believe. Still tricky. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, rook e2. And now black's definitely playing for the win. Don't go to f3 as that hangs the rook. Take on c2. This looks unpleasant. He takes there. Important move. I think it's just a draw now. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes for the draw. Or will he? Yeah, I think he probably will.
Yeah, I don't think... Yeah, and the game ends in a draw. So, yeah, it seems like a pretty fair result. The game was pretty up and down. All right, so that means we have one more game ongoing in this round. Arthur Guo is better with the white pieces against Ishik. And it is a game that Arthur Guo should win to keep Mizzou in the match, as they are down by 2 points. If he wins this one, they'll only be down by 1.
Yeah, so this is a must-win for Arthur Guo here. He absolutely needs to win it. Otherwise, there's going to be such a huge lead in favor of Mizzou that I'm not sure if Yale could come back from it.
Well, I feel like a 2-point lead is definitely still surmountable. However, you want to cut into that deficit as quickly as possible. I feel like, 1 point is nothing. 2 points is definitely something. But if it gets to 3 or 4, that's where it's a bit much. But you want to keep it as close as possible. Wait, but b6? How is black stopping this pawn?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm surprised that the evaluation wasn't higher with those pawns, but maybe the knight is in time?
Wait, but how do you... maybe knight g6 with the... No, wait, but knight e4. Goes knight e6. Wants to support this pawn somehow. Ishik has to move. Wow, with 0.3 seconds. Rook b... Wait, what?
Whoa! Oh, and he just hung his rook! Oh no! How tilting! Oh, and you see him smiling because it's just one of those moments where you're like, okay, what happened there? And there we go. We have a Levy gambit there, hanging the rook. A little unfortunate because that was a point that Yale really needed.
That is rough. That is rough. Yeah, and a super tough loss for Arthur Guo. I mean, he had to win that game to keep his team in the match, but now they lost and they're down by 3 points. And yeah, I just said it. I mean, 1 point is nothing, 2 points is something, but 3 points, that's where it starts getting a little bit much. So really unfortunate turnaround. Had he won that game, I think there definitely still would have been a chance, but I honestly don't see Yale coming back from this.
Yeah, Yale's definitely not only going to need to get over some of the tilt from a rough couple of rounds, but also gain some points. It's possible. We've seen something like it happen, but it'll definitely be interesting to see. Do you have a game you want to show us?
Absolutely. So I definitely want to have a look at this game from the very first round. So this was the game between Lyndon Lee and Mikhail Antipov. So Antipov, he is the board 1 for Mizzou, and he faced 1d4, and he responded with the Nimzo Indian defense. Interestingly enough, I also had this same line against Antipov. So a3, all of this is one of the main lines of theory. Bishop g5, and he also against me played this move c5, a pawn sacrifice. So white takes, d4. And when I played Antipov, I believe in last season, I played the move queen to f3. But Lyndon Lee quickly played the move queen g3. Perhaps he had still prepared this for this match. But Antipov played e5, sacrificing another pawn, which Lyndon Lee declined with the move e3, knight bd7, knight f3. So as we see, black is down a pawn, but black is banking on a lead in development. And especially this white king is often finding it difficult to find a safe home. All right, so rook e8, indirectly eyeing the king on e1. So white went queenside castles. Now we see knight takes c5, takes, knight takes d4, and bishop d7. And as we see here, white has the bishop pair, an extra pawn. But the king on c1 is still feeling a little bit airy. And in this position, Lyndon Lee made a crucial mistake. He played the move knight f5, bring his pieces over to the king side to try to attack, but Antipov spotted his opportunity. He played bishop takes f5, sacrificing the queen. Brilliant move. Because look at this. After rook takes d8 or rook takes d8, it's very difficult for white to stop rook e1, checkmate. For example, if you go bishop e3, that allows knight b3 with checkmate. Lyndon took an f6, but here rook e1, checkmate. And Antipov won his game and gave Mizzou the lead in the match.
Absolutely, and that is such a fun game. I'd like to point out that Antipov had a 99% accuracy, so just an absolutely killer game from him. Those are the tactics that you want. By the way, don't miss your chance to attend the Champions Chess Tour Finals live and in person. 8 of chess's greatest titans, including Magnus, Alireza, and MVL, will gather in Oslo, Norway from December 17th to 21st, and you are invited into the room. Along with the high-stakes and high-caliber action, tickets also include perks like Hand and Brain, simuls, photo ops with players, and more. Use !CCT Finals in chat or visit go.chess.com/CCTfinals24 to secure your tickets now. We will be back with more CCL action right after this.
friend or family member who loves chess? Gift them a Chess.com membership today and see them take their game to the next level. You can choose a gold, platinum, or diamond membership for 1 month or 1 year. Want your gift to arrive on your friend's birthday or on a holiday? Gifts can be scheduled to arrive up to 90 days in the future. All premium plans include an ad-free experience, unlimited puzzles and lessons, and unlock all bots. Go platinum to add unlimited game review or diamond to unlock insights and coach explanations. Give the gift of chess today.
So d4, d5, c4. This is the Queen's Gambit and this is the starting position for this course. My name is Kamil Plichta, I am a FIDE master from Poland. This course is going to be suitable for people of all levels, especially since I'm going to teach you attacking play, aggression in chess, gambits, compensation, all kinds of dynamism, imbalances, and in general we have one target. This guy here on e8. You might be like, yeah, this has to be some marketing stuff, it's impossible, come on, you just can't attack with d4. Think about it. Alekhine, Kasparov, Botvinnik, Mamedjarov. They played d4, this was their main opening, so I suggest queen e2. This is a better way of playing. We are hitting the knight goes to f6, and now we are not slowing down. We sacrifice the second guy with d5. d is a big threat, so takes, and rook d1. And just see this, for the cost of 2 pawns, we already have huge pressure on black's position, and after bishop e7, knight c3, black really has to walk a tightrope to survive this. There are 9 games featuring this position, white score is 7 out of 9.
Magnus, do you ever regret walking away from the Classical World Championship?
Not ever is hard to say, but I would say that overall, I don't regret it.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Okay. Good. Just checking. Just checking. Regardless of who wins the candidates tournament coming up, do you think Ding will successfully defend his title?
No.
He's telling the truth.
Okay, controversial. Magnus, do you ever regret making 2900 a public target?
No.
It's the truth, but it's a very sensitive question for him.
Okay, touched a nerve. Magnus, do you feel you've peaked as a chess player?
Yes.
That's the truth.
Okay. Magnus, do you fear the effects of AI in chess?
No.
So it is a lie.
Ooh. Okay. Do you think you could beat Hikaru Nakamura in a chess boxing match?
Yeah. That's a lie.
Wow. Do you think you could beat Levi Rosman and Danny Wrench in a blindfold simul?
I don't care. I don't know what the rest of the question is, but I don't care.
He does care. He's annoyed by that.
Okay. Have you ever played a competitive game while drunk?
Yes.
He's telling the truth.
Do you think Chess 960 will ever match the popularity of classical chess?
No.
He's telling the truth, but there's more to that.
Okay. But you hope it might?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Me too. Magnus, do you think cheating is a widespread problem in online chess?
Yes.
Yes, he's very sure about that.
How about over-the-board chess?
I'm not sure.
He's telling the truth.
Okay. Have you ever cried after a game of chess?
Yes, many times.
He's telling the truth.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, when was the most recent time?
Probably the last time I can remember was the London candidates in 2013.
Yeah, seems like
Truth. Okay, nice.
Hello, welcome back to CCL Fall 2024, brought to us by our sponsor, Susquehanna. It is so exciting to be here right now. And by the way, we have a prediction going on in the Chess.com chat, so make sure to use your channel points wisely. I know Ben has been getting, I won't say lucky with a lot of these predictions because he honestly has a talent at predicting these.
I just know what's going to happen, but this is a tough one. As someone asked, Mizzou will win with what margin? 4 points, 5.6, more than 6? It's not an easy one. Right now, they're leading by 3. If they repeat that result again, that would be 6. So, yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. Tough prediction. So, feel free to put your channel points in the chat. So, here we have the pairings for round number 3, Jules. We have Antipov playing with the black piece against Arthur Grove. Hershey playing with the black piece against Nicolas Checa. Then Luca playing with white against Lyndon Lee. And then Ishik playing with white against Maximilian Lu.
Yeah, so it will definitely be a very important round. As we've seen, I don't know, Yale's going to need to pretty much sweep this round to be able to get the advantage. I think that's going to be very difficult for them, especially after a few tough games. Like, for example, their board one's just not been doing great. There's been a lot of tactics that the players have been missing. It can all just be very tilting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see what's going to happen. And we see on board 1, this game started off as a Rosso Limo, with Antipov responding with Knight f6 on move 3. That is also a move that Fabiano Caruana played in the candidates. And again, I'm sure that Antipov, I'm pretty sure that he was part of his team, so I'm pretty sure he has looked at this as well. All right, and after bishop c4, the computer is saying that black is already doing pretty fine here. Let's see how he will continue. And yeah, the other games should be getting underway anytime now as well.
Yeah, that is a pretty rare move in the Rosalimo. You rarely ever see it, but you do see it every now and then. I'm actually not even sure what the correct move is there. Do you know?
Yeah, I believe after knight f6, both knight c3 is one of the main moves and bishop takes c6. But after knight d4, yeah, the computer again doesn't seem to like bishop c4. I think instead of bishop c4, if we can go back, I think instead e5 was the move. Now, after d6, black is already doing pretty fine.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens there, but this is going to be a very important round for both teams because if they win in this round, round 3, since we're in the quarterfinals, they will not be playing at round 4, so they just need to get 3 points. Do you think they'll be able to do it?
Good question. Mizzou can win this round. I don't see it happening. This Yale team is pretty good. I think the 4th round is still going to matter. Anyway, on board 2, we have a variation of the semi-Tarrasch that's become quite popular with black going c takes d4. Some people even call this the Berlin of 1d4 as it's so super solid and white's really struggling to prove any advantage. And then on board 3, the game is a little bit more combative. We have a King's Indian there with an early h4 push. And on board number 5, we have a kind of a modern defense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does kind of look like a modern defense. I'm wondering exactly how that one started because I'm not sure if I actually have ever played a structure exactly like this. Usually I push h4 earlier. You see something like that, but yeah, it looks kind of interesting. So I'm wondering if he has this prepped. If Maximilian has this prepped, he most likely does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so interesting imbalance there. So the bishop on g7 often can be a little bit stuck there, staring at the pawn on e5. He goes knight h6. And I feel like black is really waiting for white to go knight f3. Then perhaps he wants to go bishop g4, trade off the bishop for the knight. So we'll see how that one is going to develop. But I think we can definitely expect some fireworks on board number 3. Because Luca is having a lot of space. And I think it's just a matter of time until he will try to break the king set open with the move g2, g4.
Yeah, love planning that knight on g5 there. I feel like it really prevents a lot of action from black, and it makes the position extremely uncomfortable. So that's always a really fun piece to have. It's pretty much impossible to get rid of that outpost.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, the knight on g5 very strong. But Luca goes for different ideas. I thought, hey, maybe he's going to go for queenside castles in g4, but instead he goes kingside castles. I think even with kingside castles, he has a very nice position. The knight on g5 is a very strong piece. The bishop on f4 is always putting pressure on the pawn on d6. And black just has less space. That is why black is having difficulty putting their pieces on good squares. And we also have a very interesting imbalance on board number 2, Jules, as we see that black is having the 2 bishops, but white is having the 2 knights. And the knights are having nice outposts on c5 and potentially d4. Also, the pawn on c6 a little bit weak, so I like Checa's chances there.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to need that win. He's only on 0.5 points so far. For board 1, that is not his best performance. I know that he's definitely going to need to get back in the game to stop Mizzou from winning in round 3. But again, yeah, that's going to be very difficult for Checa, especially after a tough start. How do you think that impacts him psychologically?
I mean, these are all, Checa's a grandmaster with a lot of experience. So, he's dealt with losses in his career before, so I'm sure it doesn't affect him too much. He knows that, in chess, you might win, you might lose, but you just have to forget about it and focus on the next game. So I don't think it has too much of an impact on him.
Yeah, that is an absolute great mentality. Something we should all learn from, but it's always a little bit difficult. I don't know if anyone else goes on 200 points blitz tilting streaks, but that's definitely the way a lot of us work here nowadays. But I guess it's true. After losing, you just have to keep moving forward. I mean, it does seem like he has the opportunity to get rid of the bishop pair. Do you think that is something he should do, or should he keep his knights on the board?
I think definitely for the moment he should keep his knights on the board. I like the move knight d4, positioning that other knight in the middle, putting pressure on the bishop on e6. So bishop on e6 right now is not doing a whole lot. I like the knight on c5. I don't like the bishop on e6, so I think he should not trade. I think, like I said, knight d4, maybe double up the rooks on the c file. And then eventually I feel like something should crumble in the black position. So I like his position, yeah, but he just needs to keep moving. A position I also really like is Lucas' position on board number 3, as again, he's putting tremendous pressure on the pawn on d6. Jules, do you want to have a look at that game?
Yeah, we absolutely can.
All right, so Luca here as the board number 3 playing against board 4 for Yale. Again, d6 is under tremendous pressure, and I don't see how you defend it, because if you go bishop e5, white can take, followed by a fork on f6, and then that's not only one fork, you actually get another fork after you grab the bishop. So looking tough for Linden, as he's also down 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, can you just go for the fork anyway?
Oh, wait, so, all right, so you can take on d6. However, if you take on d6, I think black takes on e4. You take on f8 and black takes on e2, and I guess, well, No, wait, that's not a line. Bishop d6, rook e4. Wait, sorry. If bishop d6, rook e4, bishop f8, rook e4 is checkmate. That's not a good line.
Oh,
Instead, we see Luca taking on f6, takes stakes, but I think after someone like bishop d3, white should still be doing great, as white is a very strong bishop pair, and the black king is also getting pretty exposed now.
that makes a lot of sense. So not even worrying as much about material, worrying more about exposing that black king, which he absolutely is doing there. Yeah, bishop takes, pawn takes, and you can completely break through. You also have your bishop pair, which might be useful in a situation like this.
Right, so I think Mizzou has great chances here to extend their lead. Lin and Lena also getting low on time, so I don't really see him saving this game. It's looking tough for Mizzou. For Yale. Yeah, really, again, that loss for Arthur Go was so unfortunate. Had he won that one, then I think it was still possible, but now down 3 points, they're probably going to lose this one as well. It's just really tough for them that they have a board 4 on, that their NM is a board 4. Whereas, again, for Mizzou, they have GMs on the 3 first boards and then an IM on board 4.
I mean, isn't St. Louis's board 4 in NM too?
Yes, but he is like 28-15 online blitz, so he's, and also I think Shelov might be like 2400 FIDE, so he's practically IM strength.
I don't know. I say justice for the NMs here. They really can perform, and there's a lot of them who are really strong at blitz. But it is true that Yale has not been performing their best so far. I think even some of their higher rated players have not been performing their best either. It's just one of those days. But I don't know. We'll see if they can at least lessen the gap in this round.
Right. Lyndon Lee has to move here. He's down to 20 seconds. I mean, this is, he might be in a tough position, but taking a lot of time is not the way to go. I mean, that's only going to make your problems worse.
Absolutely. And that's when you take the most time, when you're in those difficult positions. I mean, you feel like you need more time, but ultimately, like as you said, it's just going to make your position even worse. Trying to go for the queen trade.
Right, the moves are coming in, but now the rook on f6 is trapped. Just rook b1. And yeah, this is looking super tough for black.
Yeah, and Lyndon does not look very happy right now. This is not the position that he wants. You're going to be down in material, down in position. The king is vulnerable. This might just be GG's.
Yeah, queen e7, nice move by Luka, hitting the rook on f6. And yeah, especially with the time, it's looking tough. So I expect a win here for Mizzou. And oh wow, we also have some action. Okay, we'll watch the end of this game, but we have a lot of exciting action in the other games as Luka is finishing this one off. Check, check, and mate.
And there we see it. Luka has gained the point. Another point for Mizzou. And we'll take a look at bird's eye view to see what's happening in the other games.
Yeah, so one game that is immediately drawing my attention is the game between Nicolas Checa and Harshit Raja. I really like what Harshit did, as he was in a passive position, but he sacrificed a bishop for 2 pawns and a massive attack on the white king. Maybe rook e5 followed by rook g5 here. Looks pretty dangerous for white.
Yeah, it does look a little bit dangerous there. Oh, he's really going to have to take his time to make sure nothing really bad happens in that position.
Yeah, so overall it's looking really good for Mizzou. We see that on board 1 they're up a pawn with a great chance to win. And on board 4 they're also better. So like you said, if they get 2 more wins, they actually win the match. So they very easily could do it in this round.
Do you think he'll be able to? Do you think that Mizzou will be able to get those extra 2 points, win in round 3? That would be huge, especially since the teams aren't that unevenly matched. It would just be a killer performance from Mizzou.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think they could do it. I mean, we see Antipov up a pawn with a good position. Izhik is winning. And, it's also not a given that Raja is going to lose. So, yeah, I think it's very much possible that they will decide it all in this round.
Wow, that would be exactly what Mizzou wants, and very tough for Yale. I mean, these are the quarterfinals, so this is a very, very important round to see who will be going forward, who will not, who will be fighting for the ultimate prize of $5,000. That is the prize for CCL. Very important stuff is getting decided, and I know this is not how Yale wanted to start the quarterfinals.
Yeah, all right. So Arthur Guo is in trouble. He is down a pawn. If he loses another one, I think the position is just lost. So let's see how Antipov will try to push this one to a victory. All right, so for the moment, rook c4 is still met with like king g3. You can go maybe knight f2. Knight f2 looks pretty tricky. In g5, maybe move the king, like king g6 perhaps. Knight f2, g5 is forced now. You can also take on g5 first and then king g6.
Just trying to become a little bit more active there in that endgame. And also looking at Raja versus Checa. Raja has 4 seconds. He needs to move super quickly. Cannot flag here in this position. It definitely does happen. In fact, almost all of the games have some sort of time pressure going on right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So overall, I like Raja's chances. I mean, White's king is more exposed. That makes it more difficult for White to play in time pressure. But anything can happen. I mean, these 2 knights are super tricky in the time scramble. And it looks like Antipov has won a second pawn. So he must be winning now.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh boy. Yeah, this is going to be really rough for Yale. I think Mizzou is definitely going to get those last 2 points they need. Although, I don't know, these last boards do look like anything can happen with this time scramble.
Absolutely. Anything can still happen as the players are getting lower and lower on time. All right. Okay, White's king is getting chased around the board here in Raja's game. Raja might have a quick look at the team standings, see like, hey, my team is leading, and he might just take the draw. But it looks like Checa is the one keeping the game going.
Yeah, it could be. And especially he has a little bit more time than Raja, although it is slowly ticking down as we see. They're going to have to move so quickly right now. Games have been decided by less.
Yeah, Raja can now take another pawn. All right, so I assume this... Okay, well, let's see what's going to happen. White is past the A-pawn, but this G-pawn is running down the board super quickly. Overall, I feel like this should be a draw, but Ishik won his game, so I think Mizzou has already won the match.
8.5 points in round 3. That would be huge for Mizzou. What a great way to start the quarterfinals. Very tough for Yale, although you still want to play out every single game. But yeah, that would be absolutely a great start for Mizzou. And they've won CCL before, right, Ben? Twice, actually. Or maybe twice.
Yes. Yeah, so there's a little bit of confusion about that. I think they won when it was an individual season, I believe in the fall of 2022. And they also won perhaps the very first season. I'm sure Joe can tell us when did they win?
I think they won in 2021, and they won when it wasn't a team match, I believe, was what he said earlier. But they've definitely had their victories, but SLU has been the team to beat. So getting off to a good start is very nice for this team who's looking to get yet another CCL victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. So this game ends in a draw, crushing round by Mizzou as they win this one 3.5-0. And that means they win the match with a round to spare.
That is huge for Mizzou, especially considering these teams are not that unevenly matched, but 8.5 points to 2.5, 3-9 now. That is the score, and that means that Mizzou is moving on to the semifinals. That will be huge for the team, and their board 1 is 3 out of 3, board 2, 1 out of 3, Luca's 2 out of 3, and Isaac Khan is 3 out of 3. What an amazing score from them. Yale's been struggling a bit with 1 out of 3, their board 1, Nicolas. And I don't know. I think it's going to be really, really good sign for Mizzou coming up in these next couple matches in these next few weeks. What do you think?
Yeah, they're a really strong team. I mean, I said it at the beginning of the season. I think they're definitely one of the favorites to win it all, maybe the favorite to win it all. And this is not even their strongest team. Aryan Tari, their board number 1 or 2, is not playing. If he plays, then this team is going to be even stronger. So it's a very tough team to beat. And they're proving it in this match.
Absolutely. Do you have a game that you want to show us?
Yes, so let's have a look at this game between Luka Budisavljevic and Lyndon Lee. So Luka got a really nice position out of the opening because he has a lot more space. Look at these pawns on d5 and c4. Black has the pawns on d6 and c5, and especially this pawn on d6 is always terribly weak, and Black is finding it really difficult to find good squares for his pieces. And it's really instructive here how Luka continues to pile up the pressure on the Black position. So we see knight h7, knight ce4, moving his knight to the middle of the board, hitting that pawn on d6. So it takes pawn takes. This pawn also is very nice as it takes up even more space in the Black camp. We see check on d4. Luka just moves his king into the middle. And yeah, how are you going to defend that d6 pawn? We see f6, but now the Black king is also quite exposed. We see takes, takes, takes. Black recaptures, but after bishop d3, White is having a fantastic position. White has the bishop pair, the Black king is weak, d6 is weak. Just everything is weak in the Black position. Queen b4, take, take, queen e3, hitting the bishop. And slowly but surely, Luka is moving all of his pieces over to the king side to launch a devastating attack. Queen e7, hitting the rook. Black moves the rook here, but Luka took bishop f6. The queen is under attack. White is creating a mating net around the Black king. And there's just nothing Black can do. Queen f2, check, check, and mate. So great game by Luka, as he is really one of the strongholders for this Mizzou team who has been absolutely crushing it in this match.
Yeah, Mizzou has been killing it. That was a great match for them. I think that will be great for them going forward as well, but we still have more to come. We have a really interesting match. I know a personal favorite team of yours, SLU, is coming up, so it will be important, and stay tuned. What do you think, Ben? How do you think they're going to do?
I think SLU should be the favorites, but I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. This Athens team has proven to be strong, but SLU is definitely the favorite.
All right, and everybody, don't miss your chance to attend the Champions Chess Tour Finals live and in person. 8 of chess's greatest titans, including Magnus, Alireza, and MVL, will gather in Oslo, Norway from December 17th to 21st, and you are invited into the room. Along with the high stakes and high caliber action, tickets also include perks like hand and brain, simuls, photo ops with the players, and more. Use !CCT Finals in chat or visit go.chess.com/CCTfinals24 to secure your tickets now. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we have a match you don't want to miss. See you after the break.
baseball player who's a 6-time All-Star, damn right he is, and National League MVP. And Joey Votto has been created in a lab to destroy beginner and intermediate players. Can I defeat the baseball legend? Nope. He is going to do it, even if I attack his rook. That was actually not a bad idea. Look at this. The Joey Votto playing well. What's funny is Joey Votto is pesky, resourceful, tough, much like he was on the field. Ooh, he says, goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me. I think Joey's talking to me. He's talking trash now with the king being active, but doesn't matter if the king's active when we're in an endgame down a queen. We're going to bring it to a close. Shout out to Joey Votto. Seriously, congratulations on an incredible career, my friend, and best of luck in retirement playing chess.
Students, did you know that you can get a discount on any Chess.com premium membership? If you're enrolled in a college, university, or high school in a participating country, you can get 50% off any yearly or monthly premium plan, diamond, platinum, or gold. That's unlimited game review, unlimited puzzles, unlimited bots, unlimited lessons, and no ads. All at 50% off. Go to chess.com/students and get your discount today.
Want more chess on the go? Check out all of our essential chess apps. Turn your phone into a chess clock. Learn with Dr. Wolf. Tackle new chess challenges. Entertain your kids with Chess Kid, and level up with fun and adventure. Download them all at chess.com/apps.
Hello, welcome back to the quarterfinals of the CCL. It's been really exciting so far. Susquehanna is our sponsor. It's important to remember that they value how people utilize game theory in every aspect of their life. Take a look at how important games are at their headquarters.
My name is Ella Papanek, and I'm a quantitative sports trader here at SIG. I started playing chess when I was 8 years old. My brother taught me, and I grew up very close to Union Square Park and Washington Square Park in New York City, and so I used to go and play with the people there in the parks. Chess players are very good decision makers. They're constantly reasoning about the hypothetical paths that the game could take. They're also very good at thinking about what their opponent is thinking and integrating that into their decision-making process.
My name is Jerry Yang. I'm a macro analyst here at SIG. I discovered chess pretty much after watching Queen's Gambit. I was like, this is an awesome game. The strategy and the calculation is really what I think makes the game beautiful, where every time you're asking yourself that question of, hey, I'm making this move, and what possible moves might they do in response? And then zooming back out to yourself, I think is really like what makes chess a wonderful game.
In chess, you often face situations where you have to make decisions under time pressure, and so you're not going to be able to realistically assess all of the options, but you still have to think through what matters and what doesn't matter and make a decision off of that, which is a common thing that I have to do in trading.
I do use that reciprocal thinking on my day-to-day, where I'm asking myself that question of, hey, what are other people going to do in stock markets and other markets, etc. I need to be extremely cognizant of all of these other pieces on the metaphorical chessboard in order to distill that into one, hey, like this is the driving narrative, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's important for trading.
My name is Jonathan Sakanek, and I am on the trader education team here at SIG. So on the first one, right, it comes out of here, and if you want to do, are you doing the 6 case?
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time building curriculum and lecturing along with doing some interviews for our newer and prospective candidates. I am kind of giving them the rundown of the basics of both the business and options education, and I use both lecture format and board games to accomplish this. So you would remove one if you had one, but instead we just get points equal to the numbers in our hand. The idea of using board games kind of started off with how the company was founded, using poker and poker principles. I'm able to kind of form a plan of just using board games to allow people to experience a lot of different situations and help them express themselves and guide them through those sorts of processes. So instead of just keeping them in the option space to get them better at options, you can kind of work on very focused efforts if you choose the right board game. While as a part of the education process, we're using poker kind of as a tool for education and also in terms of socialization, there's kind of one big opportunity every year for people to compete in a free poker tournament at SIG. Whether or not it's your first game of poker or you're a seasoned veteran, everyone has kind of an equal starting point, equal footing, but you see a lot of nice camaraderie. I participate in every year, both take my stab at those top prizes, along with getting to meet some coworkers that I wouldn't have met otherwise.
I think gaming is such an essential part of SIG culture because gamers are often people who have a sense of grit, who are passionate but also persistent, and they'll take the same thing over and over and over and iterate it over and over and over to get better and better.
Playing games, doing puzzles, doing math problems is all a very core part of the culture. So it felt very natural for me because that was something I had been thinking about throughout most of my life. And so it was cool to kind of meet a community of people where asking those questions was very natural and people wanted to reason through those kinds of things with me.
SIG is a fantastic opportunity, whether you're a gamer, whether you just have a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, as long as you are ready to be in an environment that kind of sees you for who you are, helps get you to the place you want to be, and really just care about your growth and development while having a great community, SIG is the place for you.
We will be back with SLU versus Athens after this break. Stick with us.
Looking to deck out your closet this fall, or a gift for that person who loves chess? We've got you covered in our all-new merch store. Literally. Never forget that it's always chess o'clock somewhere, with clocks in a brand new colorway. And keep your mouth. Looking to deck out your closet this fall, or a gift for that person who loves chess? We've got you covered. Looking to deck out your closet this fall, or a gift for that person who loves chess? We've got you covered in our all-new merch store. Literally. Never forget that it's always chess o'clock somewhere, with clocks in a brand new colorway. And keep your mouse speed on point with a classic green or bubblegum pink mousepad. Oh, Middens wants to say something too. She says, check it all out at chess.com/shop. And yeah, you might want to do what Middens says.
My name is Ella Papanek, and I'm a quantitative sports trader here at SIG. I started playing chess when I was 8 years old. My brother taught me, and I grew up very close to Union Square Park in Washington Square Park in New York City, and so I used to go and play with the people there in the parks. Chess players are very good decision makers. They're constantly reasoning about the hypothetical paths that the game could take. They're also very good at thinking about what their opponent is thinking and integrating that into their decision-making process.
My name is Jerry Yang. I'm a macro analyst here at SIG. I discovered chess pretty much after watching Queen's Gambit. I was like, this is an awesome game. The strategy and the calculation is really what I think makes the game beautiful, where every time you're asking yourself that question of, hey, I'm making this move, and what possible moves might they do in response? And then zooming back out to yourself, I think is really like what makes chess a wonderful game.
In chess, you often face situations where you have to make decisions under time pressure, and so you're not going to be able to realistically assess all of the options, but you still have to think through what matters and what doesn't matter and make a decision off of that, which is a common thing that I have to do in trading.
I do use that reciprocal thinking on my day-to-day, where I'm asking myself that question of, hey, what are other people going to do in stock markets and other markets, etc. I need to be extremely cognizant of all of these other pieces on the metaphorical chessboard in order to distill that into one, hey, like this is the driving narrative, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's important for trading.
Okay.
Welcome back. This is CCL Fall 2024, brought to us by our sponsor, Susquehanna. I'm your host, Jules Gambit. This is my co-host, Grandmaster Benjamin Bach. We have a really interesting match coming up. Are you excited?
Yes, I'm definitely excited as St. Louis is making their start in the playoffs of this CCL.
Yeah, St. Louis versus Athens. It'll be really interesting. St. Louis has been absolutely dominating this season. Athens been struggling a little bit, but they still have such a strong team. So we'll see what happens. Let's take a look at these board assignments.
Yeah, so looking at the board assignments, SLU should definitely be a favorite. They have GMs on boards 1 and 2. They have an IM on board 3, and then Shelov a strong NM on board number 4. Athens, they have 1 IM, 2 FMs, and another IM on board number 4. So interesting board order there that they decided to put the IM on board number 4. But yeah, SLU should definitely be the favorite, but this Athens team should not be underestimated. I don't think it's going to be that easy for SLU.
Yeah, Athens especially has had some really good matches, so SLU's going to need to still bring their A game, especially if they want to start off the season strong. So I don't know, anything could happen, but I do know that SLU is your alma mater, so not only will you probably be betting your channel points on them, but you'll also be rooting for them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yes, if there's a prediction, I'll definitely put my channel points on them, but I'm also rooting for them as it is my alma mater. I played for them many seasons. We won actually the last 3 seasons of the Collegiate Chess League, so I'm curious to see how they will do this time around in the playoffs.
Yeah, they have. They've been winning all the seasons left and right, so that's a lot of expectations on them, but they've also been performing very, very well. Athens also has been performing pretty well, pretty decently this season, although they've been struggling to get as many match wins. They've had a lot of closer matches. So do you think they have a chance against SLU?
I think Athens has a chance, but it's a slim chance. I feel like this SLU team should be the favorites. Right now, we are going through some fair play checks. There is money at stake. Again, the teams that win these matches move on to the semifinals. Then they will already be guaranteed a prize. However, if you lose today, you will be left empty-handed. So that is what is happening right now. We are just making sure that everyone is playing fair and square.
Yes, absolutely, especially because there is money at stake going into this round, and this is a very important round. As you saw, if they win in round 3, they don't even play round 4. This is do or die. Winner takes all, moves on, loser goes home. So everyone is really going to try to be bringing their A game. I'm wondering if we're going to see some sharp, aggressive openings. Anything interesting from the players today?
Well, we have Shelov. He is a sharp and aggressive player, so let's see what he's going to bring to the table. We have Robby. He's playing from his apartment, I can tell, at SLU. Then Batsurn, I don't know exactly where he's playing from, but I can tell Shelov is playing from the SLU team room. I was there this week, actually. I was there this week or last week. I forgot. I was there with Varakobian, and he was saying, like, hey, guys, the CCL, you guys have to take it seriously. Like, he was, telling them the importance of the CCL, that the university really wants them to win the St. Louis Chess Club, so they're all rooting for them. So let's hope they can really bring their A game today. One thing that's unfortunate for St. Louis is that one of their GMs, Nicolas Checa, he is still at their European Championship, so unfortunately he's not able to play. But I feel like this team should still be strong enough to get it done.
Absolutely. And if you believe in them, everybody, there is a channel points prediction in the chat. Put your channel points, who you think's going to win. I see that we have 80% on SLU, 20% on Athens. And then, of course, Ben comes in, spends all his channel points, so now it's a little bit shifted. But pretty good stats on Athens right now. They are a pretty strong team, so I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, I see somebody put 250,000 channel points on SLU. I have absolutely no idea who that could be.
Who could that be?
But yeah,
yes, I can hear you.
Is up. Feel free to predict in the chat. The players are getting ready. I think we should be getting underway any second now.
Yeah, they're all getting ready, just making sure everything is
good?
going well. We are even starting a little sooner than we thought we would because we ended last round at round 3 instead of round 4, since we had an early win from Mizzou.
How do I do that?
Which again is possible during this. So everyone's getting ready. I see we have a player who I think is playing from his kitchen. So that's a new one. We've seen the library. We've seen like on vacation. I haven't seen the kitchen yet.
Right, that is a new one indeed. Do you mean Tianki?
Okay.
I was looking at Calearis.
Oh, Calearis. Oh, yes, he is playing from his kitchen. Right.
Yeah, it's just Zoom.
Yeah, I guess that's where. Kitchen. That's a new one indeed. I think most people are playing from their bedrooms.
Okay.
Anyway, we
Dorm
should be getting
rooms,
underway
team
soon.
rooms. And I mean, that just shows also even having a team room to play from is
Keep going
something
on.
like an advantage for a lot of these schools that are really strong in chess. They have a lot of resources devoted towards chess, including team rooms that the players can play in. So all of those things really help out a lot. Also, I believe the players
Like
have a
this?
pretty big time difference right now. It is evening later for Athens, whereas it is in the middle of the day for SLU. So that's probably where you see the difference in lighting.
Good.
Yeah, no, for the Athens team, it's always pretty dark over there. Yes,
Oh,
it is
that's
almost
it's
10:30
just
p.m.
to
over there.
hold
It's
my
8
phone in
hours later
place.
than it is in St. Louis. That might affect them. I feel like it's usually pretty ideal to play in the afternoon, as you have plenty of time to wake up and you're not too tired. Whereas if you're playing in the evening, you're sitting around all day
Yeah.
to wait
I'm
for the
not.
games
I'm
to
not
start.
even.
And then
I'm
when
not
they finally
using.
start, you might be a little bit tired, so that could be a little bit annoying. But before we
Yeah,
get
yeah.
started, I just wanted to give a
I can
big shout
maybe
out to
put
my
my
good
phone
friend
like.
Daniel Naroditsky. He gave me a
I don't
big
know.
rate to my Twitch channel, so really do appreciate that, Danya. And I hope he had a
Yeah.
good bullet brawl.
Hope you had a good bullet ball, Danya. Thank you for rating Ben. Yeah, also it's important to
Oh, okay.
point out that there are lots of tournaments going on in Europe right now.
Like
So a lot
this?
of the Athens players have directly come from OTB. Sometimes that makes you more sharp with your
Because
blitz. Do you
otherwise
find that
it's
after a
kind of
big
difficult
tournament
to
your
get
blitz is better,
the.
Ben?
I think so, yeah, because you're just in the swing of playing chess. You've probably studied a lot of chess at your tournament, so that can definitely come in useful. The
Okay.
one downside
Thank
could
you.
be, or I guess two downsides. One downside is that you could be a little bit tired if you just came off a tournament. And another thing could be that if you just play classical, you might have to adjust a little bit to blitz, as you're going to have to play a lot faster.
I was going to say, yeah, you can be a little bit slow as well because you want to calculate everything. Maybe you're seeing things too deeply. Sometimes even seeing things deeply makes you a little bit slower because you're just trying to calculate everything. But I do find that I'm a little bit sharper when it comes to playing some blitz right after classical. So we'll see if that is the case. But if it's the same day, they're probably pretty tired. But these players are used to playing back to back.
Yep. All right. So the match should be getting on their way pretty soon, I assume, although we have been waiting. I feel like the fair play checks should have been done by now. So let's see what we can expect from these teams.
And I'm seeing.
I wonder. Sorry, I was just
ahead.
going to say, I wonder where Tianqi Wang is playing from, honestly.
Yeah, it might be a cafeteria, perhaps. Not sure. But I see in chat someone mentioned that Pia Kremling played their team event in the kitchen. So I guess the kitchen is a pretty popular choice. It makes sense. You can get your food, you can get your coffee. I play chess in the kitchen as well. So you know, it sometimes can be pretty nice to be able to play some chess and then run over and get some snacks.
Yeah, no, it's definitely nice if the food is close. So yeah, we see Batsurn stretching before the game is about to start. All right.
Yawning. I've started stretching over the board as well. I think it actually helps you to get the blood flowing. But I've always wanted to do the experiment of doing like a few push-ups before a game and seeing if that helps you.
Right. Okay. Well, I wonder what exactly we're waiting for before this match can start, but I'm sure it's going to get underway soon.
Last I heard, it was some more fair play checks. Just getting it all together there.
All right. Oh, yeah. Somebody's pointing out in the chat. Wesley So has the weirdest setup. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but he puts his laptop on a chair and then hunches over.
I've seen it. I actually have seen it. It's so funny. I mean, I guess you do show the screen and you can be a little more like, that's why I kind of like playing just Blitz casually or like other games casually, because you can kind of like go on the floor and play. So I guess he feels like he can play like that all the time. Hey, whatever helps, right?
Exactly. Whatever gets you in the right mindset.
Personally, I think that's great. Do you have a favorite way to play chess?
Just sitting.
Just
but
sitting?
I guess I like to, have some food before I play, take a shower so I feel nice and fresh. Just the usual. I think nothing sharp. I like to have some drinks close, some water, maybe something else that has a little more electrolytes. Maybe some chewing gum. Something like that. I like to have some chewing gum. I feel like that can help me as well. That can also stimulate brain activity. Maybe like a banana or something close to me. No secret sauce for me.
Oh, and we have the games starting. I think all the lecture talk kind of helped out there. I wonder what we're going to see. I bet we're going to see a Roy Lopez here on this first board, and we see it. All right, pretty standard. Bishop a4's coming.
All right, so knight f6 by Robby, d3 by Jonas, avoiding major theories. So now Robby has a lot of options. He goes d6, defending the pawn on e5. Let's see what Jonas is going to do here. I think c3 is the main move, so that in case of b5, you can preserve your bishop. And g6 by Robby, going for a setup with bishop to g7.
Yeah, that one feels a little bit more rare than what you see in a lot of Roy lines, but I'm assuming the best thing to do would be, maybe to reroute your knight to g3 castle and then go for some sort of d4 push when you're ready.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The knight on g3 nicely defends the pawn on e4, so d4 is a little bit more suitable. All right, so now Jonas has to make a decision. He had to go either bishop b3 or bishop c2. He chose the b3 square, but now Robby can always go knight a5, and there he goes, followed by c5 to grab more space. So let's see, Robby could go c5 right here. You can also sometimes go h6 if you're worried about this move, bishop g5.
Also, shout out to Subham, who won his match for Arizona State 10-6. Congratulations on that. Always good to see other CCL players watching. Yeah, right now we have some heavy Roy theory here.
Yep. No, I like Robby's position. He has more space. He has all of the pieces on the board. So generally speaking, when you're playing a low-rated player with black, as long as you keep pieces on the board and you have chance to win as well with black, you're pretty happy out of the opening. All of the other games, by the way, have also lifted off. And overall, let's see. I think everything can still happen. Overall, I like Batsurun's position. Very solid stuff. Already very fine with the black pieces. Tianqi Wang a little bit passive, perhaps, with the bishop on e2. And Shelov is playing his beloved Jobava London. And now Dimitris has to decide how he wants to regain that c5 pawn.
Naturally, we've seen the Jobava London. It's probably the most played opening this season is the Jobava London. I'm not sure why. Maybe people have gotten inspired by Shelov because I think he was the one who did it first here. But it is a very sharp opening. There are a lot of perks to playing it, especially in blitz formats, because people kind of say rude things about the London or any forms of the London because you can kind of autopilot it, but that saves you a lot of seconds knowing these openings back and forth.
Yep, and the Jobava London can be pretty sharp, and that's what we're seeing right here. Shelov is up. Oh, not anymore, but Dimitris had to fight, to get that pawn back. In the meantime, I like Robby's position. The game has turned into a bit of a Benoni structure, as he has some pressure on e4. A move like queen a5 perhaps now could be pretty nice, hitting the pawn on a2, which is a little awkward to protect. So yeah, everything that can happen here. I think overall SLU is looking a little bit better out of the opening.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, although it's literally just started, so it depends what is going to happen. Yeah, I don't know. This looks like exactly what all the players want from their setups, though, so I do tend to agree with that. I'm really liking Shelov's Jobava London currently, although maybe in a few moves, black can solidify it a little bit. I'm wondering, are there any particularly sharp openings here?
No, it seems like we're having a pretty quiet start of the game. I like the move that Tianqi Wang just played. He played queen to d2, preparing the move b3, b4. Now, you might be wondering, doesn't it look odd to put the queen on d2? Yes, it does. But the problem is that bishop d2 would have run into bishop takes a3. So now b4 looks unstoppable. And one thing that I also like by Tianqi is that he's playing very fast, as he's already up 3 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, up 3 minutes on the clock? Really? That is wild. Oh my gosh, I didn't even see that. That is so crazy to start with. He's actually starting with more time than he had before. Significantly more time than he had before.
Absolutely, yeah. And one of my viewers, Gypsy, is saying in the chat that dude Gregorius looks like Magnus in disguise. So, do you agree, Jules? Does Gregorius Draculunos on board number 2 against Batsurun, does he look like Magnus in disguise? I'm not quite seeing it yet.
I'll have to see when we go full screen, which I'm sure we'll look at his game eventually. But Well, it looks like there's a tactic there that was also missed on that board.
look at Batsurin. He's like, what? Yeah, wait, white's lost. If you take with the pawn, you hang g3. If you take with the queen, you hang c4. Batsurin's just winning. He's like, what? What is my opponent doing? And now Grigorius, he's soon going to realize, I assume.
That is such a funny reaction for having an opponent blunder.
Yeah, no. Here we see Batsurin up a full piece. So for those of you who missed that, let's show everyone real quick what happened here. Already Batsurin had a more comfortable position, but knight g5 was a massive blunder by white, as Batsurin just takes on e3. The problem is, if you take with the pawn, this knight's always going to be hanging. If you take with the queen, the bishop hangs. So white tried to take here, in between move, hitting the black queen, but he just recaptures with the knight, and still the same problem. If you take with the queen, you hang the bishop on c4. If you take with the pawn, you hang the knight on g3. So right now, Batsurin is just up a full piece, and I'm sure he's going to win.
Yeah, that is so rough. And that was just the funniest reaction. I'm really hoping my opponents don't react like that when I blunder. Can you imagine? But as always, it seems like he's doing very, very well so far. That's exactly how he wants to start out. And it's also not unexpected, board 2 versus board 4, but definitely a strong start for SLU.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so good start for Batsurin. Always nice to start off with a win. He still needs to get it done, but I don't have any doubt that he will. So, yeah, SLU's going to win here. Let's perhaps go back to the bird's eye view to see what's happening on the other boards.
Let's take a look.
All right, so
once we're ready.
Let's see if we can have a look. Yeah, Batsurin just up a full piece here. Nothing white can do. I mean, Grigorius is trying. Right now, he's starting h4. That would trap the black knight. So Batsurin is going to have to address that, but a move like f5 looks very fine. So then I can jump back to f7. h5 as well, so then I can move back to h7. Yeah, he's just up a full piece. He's a GM, so I expect to win here.
Yeah, once all the threats are gone, there's really nothing you can do. The best thing you can do if you're down a piece is to have some sort of aggressive counterplay, but everything looks absolutely locked up in this position.
Right. But yeah, so right now, okay, Batsurin, he's going to win his game. I think Robby is a little bit better with the black pieces. Tianqi is better with white. And Shelev's game is looking approximately even. So we could potentially be looking at a 3-1 or like 3.5 lead for SLU coming out of the first round.
That would be very strong for SLU. It would be exactly what they want and what they need there, but every single player is really going to need to give their best. I'm also looking at the time, so I know you guys can't see the time just yet, but it looks like Tianqi Wang is over 3 minutes ahead of his opponent now.
Right. Yep. So we will be able to see that as soon as we can pull up the bird's eye view. Actually, I think, yeah, look at this. He has just unleashed a tactic. Knight takes g5. The knight could not be taken as he would have had a fork. So Tianqi now up a pawn. Great position still. And up 3 minutes on the clock. So I think he's going to win. Robby a little bit better with black. Shelev's game is looking approximately even, although he is down a pawn, so he definitely has some work to do. And by the way, Robby, he's having a busy day, as he also had a pretty important test he took. But he said it went pretty well for him.
And like a school exam?
It was not quite school, but you know, I feel pretty good about SLU's chances of winning. Perhaps we can ask him after the match if he wants to share more about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy to have a match and then some sort of exam, so hope that went well for him. But we'll see. And I keep looking at like Grigorius now with the Magnus lookalike comment. And maybe I see it. I might see it. Like maybe a Magnus during the World Championship with Anand kind of vibes. I don't know. Maybe I'm just listening to the chatters too much now.
Right. All right, so let's see what's going to happen for Tianqi Wang. What looks really tempting to me is to go c5, push that bishop away, bishop a7, and then b5. Also push the other knight away. So right now, Tianqi has a big time advantage, and he's spending it right now to calculate and figure out a strong continuation. But I like the line that I suggested. In the meantime, Batsurin is cleaning things up. It looks like he's winning more material. Shelev is a little bit worse, though. He is down a pawn. And if he continues to be down a pawn, that could be problematic.
Yeah, it also looks like the king can't really make any progress or a lot of progress there just yet. He is up on time, about a minute, which does make a difference in positions like this, but it is kind of a dry endgame down a pawn. It's not really what you want.
Right. Okay, so he's activating the rook. That's good. I feel like in Robby's game, Robby should be better, but very complicated stuff as White has that knight on f6. Maybe that gives him some attacking potential on the king side, but Robby is cleaning up some pawns on the queen side, so I feel like anything can happen over there.
So what exactly is happening here in Tianqi's game? This looks like a really wild position, and he's definitely calculating it.
Yeah, all right. So in the meantime, Batsurin has won his game, giving SLU the lead. I mean, the thing is, things are pretty wild in Tianqi's game. It's also looking good for him. And his opponent has literally no time right now as Tianqi wins on time.
Oh, and we see it. He wins on time. Well, he was up 3 minutes, which is actually insane and just like a great strategy. If you can get up in 3 minutes in a 5+2 blitz game, you're doing fantastic, which is exactly what he was able to do. I mean, that is just some expert time management there.
Yeah, no, he did great. I actually also played him in some tournaments at the St. Louis Chess Club. He just plays quickly, gets a position, and then hopes to trick his opponent later on. So, tough opponent. In the meantime, Robby, I think, is doing very well in his game. He's up a pawn. He can perhaps win a second pawn. If Shelov holds this game with the white pieces, this would be a fantastic round for St. Louis.
Yeah, that would be 3.5 half St. Louis. It would make their chances of ending the match in round 3 pretty decent. So that's exactly what they need here. And as we see, the time difference in Robby versus Ioannis's game is pretty intense. It's about 40 seconds here. He has a great position, more pawns. Yeah, this just looks fantastic. That passed pawn on c4. How do you even really stop that?
Right, so let's see what he's going to do. He can take on a2, but that would have allowed e6. So understand that he went for rook to e2. I think now Jonas just has to trade and go rook c3. He goes rook c1 right away, but now Robby can take on a2 and take on e5, and he will be up 2 pawns, which should be enough to win.
Yeah, especially with his experience and his opponent only having 4 seconds. He needs to move, and not flag. That was so scary. It was down to 0.02 seconds. That is not where you want to be.
Oh, e2, GG. Yeah, and Robby finds it. He's now 2 pawns and a pawn in game, so there we have the resignation.
And it is currently 3-0 St. Louis. 3-0 St. Louis. So the last game, it's taking on Shelov right now. And it looks like this game might be a point for Athens. What do you think?
Dimitris has to win to keep his team somewhat in the match. I mean, if this game ends in a draw, then that's definitely a good result for St. Louis. But rook d8, fantastic move, threatening checkmate on d1. So king e1, but now perhaps h3. I feel like Shelov is a good player, but I've had some games against him, and sometimes he's struggling a little bit in the endgame, and that's also what we're seeing here. And by the way, a quick note, Dimitris Alexakis is actually playing from the European Championship, so his team definitely should be grateful for him that he's taking out of time from that important tournament to play this match.
Wow, and that just shows. It's always great when, even when they have other commitments, they're still showing up, they're still doing what they need to do. It's a very big tournament, so best of luck to him on that one. We'll see how he's able to do, especially having all of those important commitments going on, but honestly, that's good of him to be showing up and doing his best. It looks like he's also playing very, very well. If you take the knight there, that rook is going to fall on g7. This just looks like a great position.
Yeah, so rook a7, this looks really tough for Shelov. As black has a passed h pawn and now also passed a pawn. And especially this h pawn, I don't see how you're stopping it. I mean, you're going to have to go like rook a8. I think just push. I mean, there's no checkmate or anything.
Yeah, there really is no easy way to stop it.
Oh, wait, Shelov, he seems to have some hope now. All right, rook g2, nice move. Check. Yeah, just push the pawn. Check here, check here. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's anything for white.
Yeah, he's still doing his best on it, and he's probably going to have to sacrifice that bishop for the h1 pawn when it queens, which is not what you want to do. Oh, and now he can't even, yeah.
King g4 looks pretty clean. Yeah. So rook a1. Yeah, I feel like... Oh, that's a nice move. That is a nice move. It's not no, king
Yeah,
g2.
now it's
No
over.
defense
Yeah.
f5.
And you are down a rook.
And look at Checa. He is disgusted. He's pre-moving everything.
Oh
It's
my.
obviously completely lost.
Oh, his face, very expressive there. He does not look happy with that. But that is a point for Athens, making it 3-1 Athens. Or it's 3-1 St. Louis, and Athens with the 1 point there. But still important to get on the board, making sure it's not a complete shutout or with a draw. As we see the player performance, Robby Kevlishvili doing great, 1 out of 1 points there so far. Then we have St. Louis's Batsurin, 1 out of 1. Wang is also 1 out of 1, and then Shelov did lose the game of 0 out of 1. Demetrius took home that with 1 out of 1, and the rest of the players in Athens lost their game. That is a solid score for SLU going into round 2. Is this what you expected?
Yes, I mean, I did expect them to take the lead. It's good for Athens, though, that Demetrius wins his game to keep them somewhat in the match. I mean, 2 points is definitely, they can still overcome that deficit. It's not too big of a gap. But yeah, SLU is definitely the heavy favorite in this match, and that's what we saw in round number 1.
Yeah, we do see that they're the favorite, but anything can happen. They're still on the scoreboard. They're going to be trying to do more coming into round 2. So coming into round 2. Meanwhile, St. Louis is going to try to end the match by getting 8.5 points in round 3. So we'll see if both teams will be able to do it. But I know where you have your channel points on, Ben.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, St. Louis is taking the lead. So you said at the beginning, I'm a little bit lucky. That's absolutely not the case. I just know what's going to happen. St. Louis is leading. And here we have the pairings for round number 2. So Robby playing with the white pieces against Grigorios. Batsurin playing with white against Ioannis. And then we have Tianqi Wang with black against Dimitris Alexakis. And Shelov with black against Vasilios. We had Dimitris once for an interview, and he said, like, hey, I am the board 1, and especially when we were the underdogs, I know I have to score a lot of points. So I'm sure he's going to try to go out for the win in this one as well, especially since he has the white pieces.
And, you know, he's right there. They are the underdogs. He is going to have to do as much as he can there and get those points on the board. But it seems like he's playing very sharply so far. He has the practice. He's going into it coming off of an OTB game. So maybe he can be what Athens needs to get a few more points.
All right, so the game that should be starting first is the one in the top left-hand corner. Robby Kevlishvili playing with white pieces. And he opens up with his bread and butter 1e4. Let's see how Grigorios is going to respond.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like we have a Sicilian here. Are we going to see a Rosalimo again? No, we have an open Sicilian so far. This is kind of, it's not a Sveshnikov. What is it called?
No, this is called the Kalashnikov variation of the Sicilian, where black goes e5 before going knight f6. So that is the one difference.
Interesting. I've seen it recommended to Sicilian beginners, but I've also heard it's fairly complicated.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a complicated variation of the Sicilian, and I believe Hikaru Nakamura used it quite successfully last year in the American Cup and in some of his other over-the-board games. So we'll see how this one is going to play out. In the meantime, the game in the top right-hand corner on board 2 has also started as Batsurin opens up with an English ready opening against Ioannis.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is going to convert into some sort of Catalan position, but we shall see. English is also one of those openings that can be surprisingly difficult to play against. A lot of people just say it's slow, but I don't know. It can be a little bit difficult to find progress as black here, although this position does not look awful for black. Maybe you can even get that outpost on b4.
Yeah, that is why black recaptured with a knight. He didn't, if he would have recaptured with a pawn, that would have given white an outpost on b5. But now white is getting the center, and Batsurin could just go e2, e4, putting both pawns in the middle. Black is probably going to go knight b4 and then knight c3. I feel like white should be better there, but black also has something to play for. In the meantime, Tianqi Wang is playing the hedgehog system with the black pieces against Dimitris Alexakis, and he goes for h5. Very interesting choice. The h5 push is not uncommon in the hedgehog, but I thought usually you might want to wait for white to castle.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting because it feels like a lot of the hedgehog is just basically saying, come on, attack me, see what you can do. So it feels fairly aggressive to pair with it.
And in the bottom right-hand corner, we have a Italian with Shelov going knight f6 and bishop b7, and he goes king h8. Now, king h8 might look like a mysterious move. You might be wondering, like, hey, what is he doing? But sometimes black wants to go knight g8, and there we have it, followed by f7, f5.
May I ask why Shelov looks like a celebrity trying to avoid the paparazzi right now?
He's just a little disappointed that he lost the first game, but it can happen. He's locked in. He's locked in, as they like to say these days.
It is true. I have heard scientifically when you cover your field of vision a little bit or cover the sides of your field of vision, you're able to focus more. So that is a thing when you see players put their hands on their head like that. It does scientifically help you focus.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, never knew that. In the meantime, Robby has misplayed the opening a little bit. He lost that pawn on... He was down a pawn for the moment. He regained it. But the pawn on g5 is a little bit weak. He's a little bit behind in development. And I don't know where he's going to castle. Kingside castling does not look appealing anymore. Queenside castling is also going to be difficult to do. So that's why black is having a nice advantage.
And I do want to point out, this is a very special time for SLU. It's SLU's first quarterfinals actually, competing without Benjamin Bach, I've heard. So, Ben, how do you feel about that? Is it tough for the team?
It is tough. It is tough. That's why, they barely managed to qualify for the playoffs. They finished in 4th place. They're still missing myself and Nicolas. But, they're here. They're here to win. And hopefully for them, they'll be able to have their strongest team in the semis and the finals if they make it there.
That's true. They have been struggling a little bit more than they have in previous seasons. Maybe due to you being gone, Ben, I'm not sure. But they do have new leadership. We've interviewed Robby before. He seems to be doing great. So we'll see if they're able to completely turn it around, win this season. I think it's definitely possible. They're a very strong team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it is either going to be SLU, Mizzou, SRM, or UTRGV. I think one of those teams is going to win it all. But it really depends on the form of the day, which team it is going to be. Like, you need a little bit of luck, you need players to be in good shape, and then any of those 4 teams could win it all.
That's true. But we also haven't seen a lot of these teams, strongest teams, regularly. Meaning we've only seen Ariantari on Mizzou once, so we don't know how that team will be when he's here in the finals and semifinals. So that could also be a huge team to contend with. As we see, now this position looks pretty nice for black. I mean, they fixed all their kingside issues. They've got that free open rook on the b file. And meanwhile, white's king looks a little bit out in the open.
Yeah, so Robby played h2, h4, defending the pawn on g5. But d5 by black, good move. Robby brings the queen back. And the main problem really is, like, what are you going to do with that king on e1? Kingside castling does not look like a lot of fun. Black can quickly go f6 or something to open things up. It also looks very difficult to go queenside castling. So I think for the moment, Robby wants to keep the king in the middle, maybe like bishop b3 or rook d1. I guess it's not that easy to attack the king in the middle for now.
And that move c3 makes a lot of sense because now you are open to move your c bishop and that pawn on b2 can't be taken, which probably he will use this opportunity to do that, threatening... I did like that move you were pointing out, bishop f4, threatening the rook. Instead, we have the kingside castle, which, as you said, runs into perhaps f6.
Yeah, I don't like kingside castling. f6 here or queen e6 all look very appealing. I don't understand why he didn't play that move bishop f4. Queen e6, threatening queen g3. Robby therefore goes king g2 to stop it. And now I think black is just going to try to blast things open with f6.
Yeah, f6 is a little bit unfortunate because there's not much you can do against it. You just kind of have to let them blast open your king side and hope that you have enough defense with that bishop coming in where it's not as big of an issue. I mean, if they could, now bishop f4 would be a great move, except now the queen can take, which is why it might have been a bit better a few moves ago.
Right, if this bishop on c1 could magically teleport to g3, the white king would be feeling a lot safer, but obviously that's not possible. So I don't see it for Robby. I think Gregorius has a very easy game here. If his rook comes in, he can slide the rook to f3, then like queen e6, trying to jump in here, double up the rooks. This looks like a terrible position, especially in the blitz game, as white's moves are so hard.
And this would be a pretty decent sized upset because this is the board 1 versus the board 3 of Athens. So Athens is doing great here. Maybe the Magnus Carlsen lookalike is getting some of the chess riz from his double, but we'll see how that goes there. I mean, these positions still anything can happen. Queens are on the board, but yeah, it seems like all of White's counterplay is going to be a bit slow.
And Robby is up a pawn, so Gregorius is going to have to play accurately here to continue the attack. So he can take on e3 now or take on g5 first. Let's see which one he will choose. But things are looking good for him. Jules, do you want to have a look at the bird's eye view to see what's happening on the other boards?
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right. Okay, so we see that things are looking pretty good for Gregorius on board number 1. Botsurin is better on board number 2 against Ioannis. Then Dimitris is much better against Tianqi Wang. And Shelev is much worse against Vasilios. So we might see Athens striking back in round number 2.
By the way, SDL Chess Club, thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. We're just checking out some CCL here. But yeah, it does look like there's someone watching Tianqi Wang's game there. Do you see that? Yeah. Maybe it's a friend of his looking at the chess.
Right, yeah, I wonder where he's playing from. In the meantime, we have more moves on Robby's board. Really don't like his position, as Gregorius is taking his time to recapture the bishop. He might also be considering moves like Queen f4, but I think just taking the bishop is good, and then continuing the attack in the next couple of moves. Yeah, this is not looking good for Robby.
Yeah, that would be such a tough loss for Robby. A great win for Athens, starting out exactly what they need. You know, Athens is a strong team, and they can pull some of these upsets on individual boards, so still anyone's match there. And it looks like Tianqi Wang was doing so good with time management the last game, but he's struggling a little bit here. Now he's the one who's down by almost 2 minutes, so he has to be a little careful.
Yep, no, it's looking tough for him. Also not looking good for Shelev. We might very easily see Athens winning this round 3-1, and then it would all be tied up.
That would be a huge comeback. Ben is sweating over his 200,000 channel points right now. I'm not sure, but there's still so much life in the match. They do have to play this very well if they want to tie up the score.
Right, so let's see what's happening. Right now, Tianqi is down the exchange. He does have a pawn to show for it, though, but Dimitris Alexakis, as I'm being told in the chat, is doing pretty well. I mean, again, he is a board 1. He knows he needs to get points on the score table, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah, and I love that outpost on c5. It looks great. That knight really cannot be disturbed. Maybe you can double up the rooks here if you're Demetrius. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I don't know. This looks pretty solid, but where is the best attack? All right, going for a queen trade, which makes sense when you're up the exchange, but you still have to be a little wary of those pawns.
All right, so yeah, he's definitely still having the advantage, but perhaps he had a bigger advantage before the queen trade. King f2, nice move, bring that king in. Rook d6. I don't see where you go with the bishop. Bishop e8 runs the rook takes f6. They pretty much lose the game right away. Bishop e8 looks very passive. Maybe you have to move the rook back to c7.
Well, if you move the rook to c7, do you run into any issues with that rook long term in defending that bishop? I mean, you might, but it's probably the best bet, which is why he's taking his time. He delivers a check first, all right? Now he's forcing the trade.
Yeah, rook e2, good move by Dimitris. Like I said, forcing the trade, getting rid of all of Black's counterplay. This is looking tough for Tianqi, and he just resigns.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we see it. Another point for Athens. This is both very unexpected and just completely great for Athens. They could sweep this round 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised that Tianqi just resigned here. I mean, the position is looking tough, but definitely feels early to throw in the towel. But Stern won his game in the meantime, keeping a 2-point lead for St. Louis. But Robby's getting crushed. I think he should just be lost here in the next couple of moves. Something like rook takes g1 followed by queen to c2. Looks winning for Black.
So it's all resting on this last game, Vasilios versus Shelev. Yeah, if Shelev is able to win or draw this game, that still looks great for SLU. If Vasilios is able to win this game, he will be tying up the score. So that's going to be a very important match.
Okay, Robby's allowing checkmate in 2, rook takes g1. If you take the king, queen g2. If you take the queen, queen e2. So Robby has lost the game. All right, so great win for Grigorius. Not a good game by Robby. So let's see what Shelov can do. If Shelov wins his game, it will be a 2-point lead for SLU, then things are looking pretty good. But if Vasilios wins, then it will all be tied up. But I feel pretty good about Shelov's chances. He's got more time, and he's an amazing blitz player.
That's true, and just a few moves ago, Shelov was losing the game. And now he's managed to get a little bit of an advantage. It's 4 seconds to 23 seconds. Look at that time difference. Even with even time, as you said, Shelov is a really strong player. It might favor him.
Right, and White lost on time. Yeah, I mean, they're still getting used to the increment. You just gotta move. You can't let it come down to the last couple of seconds. But crucial win for Shelov as he gives SLU a 2-point lead.
Yeah, and that was the round that Athens needed to come back. So as you can see, Vasilios is not very happy with that, but still not a bad round. It is 5-3 in favor of St. Louis, and we'll look a little bit at that player performance. We have Robby going 1 out of 2, a little bit of a rough start for him. Basurin 2 out of 2, Jianqi Wang 1 out of 2, Shelov 1 out of 2. Then we have Demetrius killing it with 2 out of 2 points. Their board 2 was 0 out of 2. FM Grigorius 1 out of 2, and 0 out of 2 Ionis. So Athens will need to make that comeback. I mean, that might have just been their chance.
Yeah, so SLU is still in the lead. Things looking good for them. Overall, SLU is very well-rounded as a team, whereas Athens, Vasilios, and Jonas still on 0 out of 2. They really need to get on the scoreboard as well to give Athens a more fighting chance.
Absolutely. Do you have a game you want to show us, Ben?
Absolutely, yeah. The game of the round definitely was this one between Robby Kevlishvili and Grigorius Drakulakos. So Robby opened up with e4, and we had a Kalashnikov. So knight c6, takes, and e5, knight b5, d6. All of this is theory. Robby and his opponent were both playing quickly. Knight c4, knight d5. We saw a trade. So now White's having the bishop pair and a little bit more space. And Robby also quickly played the move g4. So I'm sure he was still aware of all of the intricacies. But here I was a little bit surprised. The pawn on d5 is under attack, and I thought he should have defended it with a move like bishop g2. But instead he goes g5. Now Black takes the pawn, bishop g2. And perhaps he was banking on this. The knight's under attack. If you move the knight, you hang d6, and White gets a devastating attack. But Grigorius found the move pawn to b5, attacking the knight on c4. So Robby took on d5, takes. And here the material is even. But the problem really is, where is this white king gonna go? It doesn't look good to castle kingside anymore. Castling queenside is also difficult. And keeping king in the middle forever also isn't great. So Robby took the pawn, went h4 defending the g5 pawn, brought his queen back, e4, c3, bishop c5. But here he really had to develop his bishop with a move like bishop e3 or bishop f4, after which he would have had an advantage. But instead he goes kingside castling, and this doesn't look good. I mean, his king is super exposed because he pushed the g and h pawns, and Grigorius plays perfectly. He goes queen d6, threatening queen g3, a devastating check, and now goes f6, opening up the f-file for his rook. So he takes on g5. We see a trade rook f3, bring that rook into the game. And even though Black is down a pawn, the attack on the white king is just devastating. I mean, slowly but surely, there's just nothing White can do. So he brings in his rook, keeps the queens on the board, of course, defends the pawn on d5, hits g5, brings the queen over to attack, takes en passant, and yeah, White's just getting absolutely crushed. He brought his rook down to g2, the queen dives in as well, and now he takes on g1, and he has a checkmate. So great game by Grigorius, but SLU still had a match by a 2-point margin.
Yeah, that was a great game. We will see if Athens is able to come back in round 3. Stick with us. We will find out right after this break.
I grew up in the small fortress town of Woerden. I've lived here all my life. When I was 5, my father taught me the game, and soon thereafter took me to the local chess club. I can't really remember my life without chess. I feel like it's always been there. I met my wife through chess. My profession is chess. I don't play chess to win. I'm not that competitive. I love how the pieces move, I love the game. I love how everything around me becomes still. When I'm behind the chessboard, time doesn't flow the same way until the clock runs out. In the spring of 2021, time seemed to have run out. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease, which is a form of cancer. I was 35, and suddenly my life changed. It was a strange time, and chess didn't seem to matter at all. But I was optimistic. I trusted the treatment plan and the doctors that were helping me, and I felt it was in their hands now. The chemotherapy, radiation, at the worst I could barely walk around the block. That it really puts things in perspective. If I have a bad position now, yeah, I mean, it's no big deal, you know. So maybe in that sense it helps that you have a more of a different kind of attitude to life. There are definitely also positive things I take from that time when I was not well. I think it gives you kind of different perspective on life, on everything actually. So it was definitely not only negative. It takes a long time to recover, but chess players are anything if not patient. It was crazy because 1 month before the tournament in Vegas, I still had my radiation therapy finished. So it was way too early actually to start playing, but I wanted to desperately be at that tournament. I barely prepared for the games because I was just too tired. I only played the games, I had dinner, went back to my room, slept most of the time. I had put that tournament as a goal. Best tournament I ever played. Then at the end of the year, after 16 failed attempts, I became Dutch champion, and that was really the cherry on the cake. That was huge for me. I was ecstatic. It was the feeling of I'm back. All those failures, all those setbacks, they never seem to matter now. What is important is that I have a lot of chess ahead of me. I always wait for the moment when I wake up and I realize that today I don't really feel like looking at chess, but it just never happens. My name is Erwin Lamy, and I'm a Dutch Grandmaster.
Welcome back to Fall CCL. We have a really interesting match coming up. We have SLU versus Athens going into round 3. Will Athens be able to tie up the score? What do you think, Ben?
I think Athens definitely still has a chance, but SLU is leading by 2 points. They're the rating favorites, so I feel like they should be able to get it done.
They definitely should be able to get it done, but stranger things have happened, especially when you're looking at the lineups going into the next round. We'll see what happens, but SLU's going to need to bring their A game to make sure that they get enough of an advantage to take it home. But we have Robby Kevlishvili versus Vasilius, board 1, board 2, Batsurin versus Demetrius, Tianki versus Ionis, and then Shella versus Gregorius. It'll be interesting. These are closer boards, so technically they're a little closer in rating. I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it is a slight advantage for Athens that their boards 1 and 2 get to play with the white pieces against the boards 1 and 2 from SLU. Especially Dimitris Alexakis is a very dangerous player with the white pieces, so I'm very curious to see what he's going to do against Batsurin. And as we speak, we are off. Vasilius starts off with 1e4, and Robby once again plays e5. A little bit surprising that as the board 1, he's choosing to play such solid chess with the black pieces instead of playing something like the Sicilian, which is a little bit more combative.
And we see an Italian, so this is very, very solid, especially we have a d3 Italian, which is known as a little bit more of the quieter opening, the quiet game, instead of maybe like a d4 move there. So we're getting something that's pretty calm. So I think Robby is just hoping to outplay his opponent here in this calm, quiet position.
Right, so we saw that white played bishop e3, hoping that black would take. Then he wanted to recapture with the f-pawn. So then he controls a lot of squares in the middle, and he also has the half-open f-file. But Robby moved his bishop back to b6. He's like, hey, you can trade on my terms. I want to recapture with the a-pawn, give my rook a half-open file. So now after knight e5 and d6, white can also take with the knight, as that would give white the advantage of the bishop pair. Let's see if that's what Vasilius is going to do.
By the way, Stu, thank you for subbing to Chess.com with Prime. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll see what he ends up doing there, especially as the other games are getting started. I think it's probably a little bit more of a delay on the other games. But yeah, I like this position. I think it's kind of interesting here.
Right, and Robby just
maybe
played
I'm
bishop.
biased.
Yeah, okay, we just see a trade on e6. Now Robby is getting the doubled pawns also on the e-file, and now he has to have up an f-file for his rook. So let's see what white sometimes does here is just gain space on the queen side, most like c4, sometimes b4. White is considered to be a tiny bit better here, but black is super solid. So we'll see how this one is going to continue. This is definitely a Gyoko piano. And by the way, it seems like Batsurin's game will be last to start, as Shellov's game has also started. He's opening up with the Jobava London. And Tianki Wang again playing kind of a reverse Benoni.
Yeah, I mean, the day Shellov plays anything other than a Jobava London, we know he's been like abducted or something, and they've sent back his clone. But definitely in this position, as we see on the board right now, it's a little tough because usually in these positions, you're really tempted to push d4, go for some sort of trade there. But now it's kind of more difficult to know what to do because then you're just helping them fix their pawn structure.
Yeah, all right. So some interesting maneuvering here. I think sooner or later, Robby is going to go knight h5, perhaps move the knight f4. Queen g6, also a sensible move. Again, it's all going to be about slow maneuvering here. And I do like the fact that Robby is playing a little bit faster. He's up a minute on the clock, so that's definitely something that he can try to use later on.
Yeah, definitely playing quickly. As we've seen, that's become very, very important. Games have been decided by less. For you guys who are new with us, Athens almost tied up the match last round, and it came down to some time pressure where they lost a game. But those seconds really do matter.
Yep, no, there is a 2-second increment, but you really don't want to get yourself low on time. And yeah, we've seen so many players lose on time. I think maybe they're still getting used to the increment. You really cannot let it come down to the final second.
No, you really can't. Should we check out Bird's Eye View, see what's going on?
Yeah, let's go back to the Bird's Eye View to see what's happening in the other games. So right now we see Dimitris Alexakis a tiny bit better with white on board number 2. Black is having the bishop pair, but black also has an isolated pawn on d5, which is a little bit weak. Tianki Wang again playing his beloved Benoni defense with white, looking pretty good for him. And we have a very exciting game in Shellov's game. Shellov is down a pawn, but he certainly has compensation.
Yeah, by the way, I just don't know how he does it with these positions. Like, I'm looking at these positions and I just kind of want to cry. But you're slowly gaining space. You're kind of squeezing your opponent. It looks at first like white doesn't have a lot of space. And I mean, to a certain extent, there's a little bit of maneuvering that needs to be sacrificed. But also that queen side, he's just completely expanded.
Yeah. All right, so Shellov has regained the pawn, but black has the bishop pair. Also, black has control of the only open file on the board. So really anything can happen, but what Shellov wants to do, he wants to move his queen, let's say the d2 or maybe f3, move his bishop out of the way, queenside castles and rook h1. And then, he can start some play. So I like what Grigorius does. He goes c5, trying to open up some counterplay on the queen side.
Yeah, and now it almost seems a little bit unfortunate. I'm wondering if the bishop can just take, as he does, ruin the pawn structure, and now the king is probably going to have to go to, I don't know, e2 or d2 instead of castling.
Right. All right, so Tianqi now, wait, I think Tianqi has a very interesting possibility on board number 3. He can go b6 here, hit the bishop on a7. Then black is pretty much forced to take on e4, I would say. White recaptures with the pawn, the bishop moves to b8, and then white can take on f8, go up the exchange. But what Tianqi can also do is take on g6 here. Black recaptures with the pawn, and then b6, kicking that bishop away, because the bishop b8 runs the bishop takes c5. So that's why Tianqi right now is taking his time. And that's also why the equal bar is all the way up for white.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm wondering if he's going to end up going for it. And he's been playing pretty quickly. He's one of the players on this team with the best time management, so he can afford to take his time on a move like this. But the fact that he's taking his time definitely means he's calculating it. I have a good feeling that he'll end up playing it.
Right. I think bishop takes g6, take, and b6 looks the most convincing to me. Again, bishop b8, you lose a full knight. So let's see. I don't think Jonas has anything good here.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, and it's a fun move, and they don't really have anything. You're just gonna have to play down the exchange. Not only that, but you don't really have a lot of attacks either. Usually when you're down the exchange, sometimes it's not the end of the world as long as you have like a quick attack, which is why you see it a lot in Sicilian positions. But here it just feels a little depressing.
Right. So Tianqi going down a minute on the clock, but yeah, he must realize that there's something in this position. He's spending his time, and sooner or later he's going to make a decision here. I think he will take on g6 and b6. That looks the best to me.
Okay, I might be crazy, but I swear I just saw a couple like fighting behind Tianqi. I think he's in a computer lab. That's where I think he is.
Interesting. Okay, so he went for this line. He's up the exchange now. Okay, so he's definitely better. The knight's headed to d3, but still some work to be done to convert this one. But overall, it's looking very good for him.
Yeah, that just looks like a great position. Maybe I'll take back what I said about the reverse Benoni.
All right, so rook b5, nice move hitting this pawn on a5. Yeah, the rook is coming in. The thing is, if you're up the exchange, you want your rooks to be able to activate themselves, and that's what he's doing here. The rook is getting active, getting to a8. He can also activate that other rook potentially along the c file. So I think he's going to win this one. Jules, do you want to go back to the bird's eye views to have a look what's happening in the other games?
Yeah, let's have a look at the other games there. Also, I would like to mention that both teams need to get to 8.5 points to win the match. So if they can get 3.5 points here, they can end the match in round 3 for St. Louis, or it might go into round 4. But that is the goalpost we're looking at.
All right. Okay, so let's see what's happening. So Robby's now a little bit better. White's kingside is looking a little bit fragile, as White has made a lot of pawn pushes. Robby's having the half-open f file to work with, also the half-open g file. Maybe just doubling up the rooks looks good. But Surin's game looks approximately even. Again, White is having the slightly better pawn structure, but Black has the bishop pair. Shalov is a little bit worse, though. I don't like the knight on h5. I don't like the bishop on g2. And I don't like his pawn structure. So let's see if Grigorius can get a very important point for the Athens team.
Yeah, he really will need to get that point, as we said, to keep St. Louis from that 8.5 marker. Yeah, that position just does not look good. I love that queenside expansion. The king is actually particularly solid there on e7. So it's one of those moments where the king doesn't really need to be castled to feel absolutely safe.
All right, so Tianqi now breaking through on the queen side. I think he's going to get a point for SLU. Robby right now is a little bit worse. Vasilios did a great job in the meantime. Last time I looked, it's pretty funny. Last time I looked, all of the rooks of White were over on the king side. Robby's rooks were also not over on the king side yet, but all of the heavy pieces have moved themselves over to the king side. Robby is having quite a significant time advantage, but it's not easy to proceed here. Let me see. I think we might be looking at a tie in this round. What do you think, Jules?
Well, a tie in this round makes a lot of sense, and it would bring them into round 4, where they're still going to need to get that 8.5 points. But it definitely could be. I mean, we're going to see Tianqi taking home the point there, and then perhaps Gregorius taking home the point, and then maybe it's anyone's game in the last 2. But that being said, Vasilius has 30 seconds to 2 minutes and 13 seconds. That is quite the time difference.
Yep, and in the meantime, Tianqi Wang has won his game, so giving SLU a 3-point lead. All right, so yeah, Robby having a big lead on the clock. Let's see if he can get it done. Shelev's game, there really anything can happen, but overall it's looking pretty good for Black. Let's see. I think Batsurin's game is going to be quite crucial.
Yeah, definitely. It will show whether St. Louis is going to get all the points they need just yet or not. I mean, the position looks nice so far, but there is still a lot of life left in it.
Yeah, we see a trade on e3 now. White can take on b6 if White wants to get the queens off as well, or just take, and that's what he does. All right, so again, I think it should be approximately even. Black is doing pretty fine here. Maybe like bishop b5, knight d4, and bishop c4 I quite like, because then the rook cannot move from a1. If you go rook e1, for example, you hang a2. And let's say you go knight d4, bishop c4, a3. Like, if you go a3, yes, then your rook can move afterwards, but then Black is first to go rook e8 and grab the open file. You also cannot push the bishop away with b3. So I like what Batsurin is doing here. But knight c2, nice move by White, aiming to go knight e3.
Yeah, and I mean, this looks like a pretty decent position. You do have the bishop pair as Black, which might make you a little bit better here. And there is that No, there isn't quite an outpost just yet. You're probably going to aim knight e3, as you said, try to get rid of that bishop pair if you can. And if that bishop pair is going to move, perhaps you can pick up the pawn. So it's just good threats. But Batsurin's definitely thinking he is down on time here, though. 30 seconds to a minute and 38 seconds. So over a minute time advantage for Demetrius.
Right, and as this game is approximately even, Shelev is down a full rook. He's going to lose with the white pieces, so that's a big win for Athens. Robby is in the meantime crushing it with the black pieces on board number 1. Where is the win, though? Where's the win for Robby? So let's see. I don't know. I mean, you can... Okay, if you take on d2, there's queen d8. Maybe... Wait, where's the win for black? I don't know.
Yeah, it might be where he's taking his time to think too, but he can take his time because he's up a minute.
Right.
But
well,
you have to
maybe
be
he can
careful
pick
not
up
to
a
get
lot of stuff
mated.
with check. Like now, queen e3 check. I think white has to go back to... I thought back to f1, he goes to h1, but now queen e1 check. Take on d2 with check. Queen e3 looks pretty good. And then you're going to have to go to g4. Yeah, that's the only move. Right, but... Oh, like queen g1. Yeah, queen g1. Queen g1 should be winning for Robby. If king h3, queen h1, king g4, queen g2 is checkmate.
And he's taking his time to think. Yeah.
Queen h1.
The mate is coming soon.
Yeah, queen g2, knight f3. All right, so Robby wins his game as well. So SLU taking a big lead here. All right, so Shelev is losing. But SLU is still ahead by, I think, 3 points. Yeah, 3 points. But Batsurin might win as well, as he's also a little bit better.
Yeah, it definitely depends on Batsurin. This is going to be a very important game there. He does have the bishop pair here, which is quite nice. Although I'm not sure, that bishop on b3 seems temporarily like it can't move, but I guess eventually once that knight is forced to move, the bishop can get free. It just looks a little bit claustrophobic for Demetrius.
Right. Okay, so now Batsurin, okay, he didn't win a pawn, but he managed to break a white's pawn structure a little bit. Bishop f6 looks like a good move. Yeah, so as we see, SLU is up by 7-4. All right, so just 1.5 points more needed for them to clinch the match. I mean, practically this is a must-win game for Demetrius, but I don't see him winning this one. Rook e4, nice move hitting this. How do you defend the pawn on d4, actually?
Right, if you go into the last round absolutely needing to win all your games, that most likely will not happen. But yeah, just picking up another pawn, this looks very difficult. And Demetrius has been killing it so far in the match.
Yeah, no, Dimitri's 2 out of 2, but I don't think he's winning this one. Rook d2, fantastic move by Batsurin. d4, GG. If you move the knight bishop d5, that's game over. And
and you see him celebrate.
Yeah, and we also definitely saw a bit of a reaction by Dimitris. Is losing a full 9 now. The game is over. Rook takes b2. We might just see resignation. And there we go. Batsurin taking a big lead by SLU as he's pushing them 4 points ahead.
I believe it is 8-4 now. It's the first to 8.5 points, so they only need a half point coming into this 4th round. You know, I think that is insurmountable for Athens, but SLU is still going to need to make sure they don't phone it in and do their best chess this round 4.
Yeah, I don't see Athens coming back from this. 4 points is just a bit too much. So yeah, the SLU team very well run. Robby 2 out of 3, Batsurin 3 out of 3, doing great. Tianqi Wang 2 out of 3, and Shelov 1 out of 3. And if you look at Athens, Vasilios and Jonas not getting any points on the scoreboard, it's just making it really tough for them. I mean, Grigorius and Dimitris are doing well, but if 2 players are getting 0 points, it's a tough match.
It is a tough match, and they're really going to need to bring their A game coming into this last round. They can't even lose half a point. They can't even draw a single game. If they do, the match goes to SLU. So this is going to be an important round 4. But so far, it looks like SLU could be taking home the match.
I think they will. I don't see Athens coming back from a 4-point deficit. Like I said, all SLU needs is just a single draw, and this team is pretty strong. So here we have the round pairings of round number 4. Robby playing with white against Dimitris, Batsurin playing with white against Vasilios, Tianqi Wang playing with black against Grigorius, and Shelov playing with black against Jonas. So yeah, let's see. I mean, I just don't see it happening for Athens.
Right, especially with Robby and Batsurin having white against the board 1 and board 2 as well. That is going to be hard to overcome, especially when they only need a draw. But we'll see how they do. I know every player is still going to want to play their best regardless. I personally am excited to see who walks behind Tianqi's camera during this match.
Right. Okay, so the game should be getting underway any second now. So yeah, every Athens player has to go for the win. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some aggressive, sharp games, especially since like tie-break points don't even really matter for Athens right now. If they lose this game, they are out. SLU will be moving forward to the semifinals. This is do or die for the money. If you lose this, you're getting sent home with nothing.
Yep. No, and the team who wins this match will already be guaranteed a prize, I believe $500 for 4th. So there's definitely some stakes here. Anyway, I think we'll see some aggressive openings by the players from Athens. They have to win every single game. I don't know if we've ever seen a sweep comeback, like a 4-0 comeback in the final round. I've definitely seen teams coming back from a 3-point deficit, but I can recall a time when a team came back from 4 points.
Well, we did see them almost come back by 3 points, but they weren't quite able to do it. I wonder if the match would have gone a little differently had they been able to come back like that. Like you said, it's very rare, but stranger things do happen. I'm wondering if they'll be playing hyper aggressively. Maybe we'll see some kind of crazier lines going for the win.
Right. Okay, so yeah, the game should be getting underway any second now, as the players are getting ready. Yeah, what do you make of the players' expressions as they're getting ready for this final round?
Well, I'm a little afraid that Athens is just kind of phoning it in right now. They seem a little down there, but we could still see them try to fight and go ahead. I mean, everyone seems very stoic and focused. Even SLU, who is doing well, they still seem to be on their A game trying to focus. I guess there's no celebrating until you actually win.
Yep. No, you just have to stay focused. And yeah, the thing is, if you're leading by 4 points going into the final round, you think like, well, I mean, somebody should be able to get it done, right? Like you're not too nervous going into the final round. Anyway, we should be getting underway any second now.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, where you don't want to be the person to rely on your teammate to take home the win, and then all of a sudden, it's 4-0. Although doubtful that would happen, it still could. And we see the first game underway. We have a Sicilian. I wonder if he's going to go for the C3 line or go into some sort of open Sicilian. Maybe we'll get a Tamanov. All right, looks like we might get a Tamanov.
Yep, we have a Tamanov on the board. So very combative opening choice by Dimitris, keeping a lot of pieces and play in a position. Bishop e3 by Robby. A6 here is the main move. And Robby trades on c6. Okay, so now black can recapture with the queen or with the pawn. We see queen takes. I think white, okay, a4 is a move. White can also continue like bishop d3, but very solid stuff by Robby. Again, he only needs to draw, so it's understandable that he goes for a quiet setup.
And by the way, we have chessically inclined Jason Moorfield in the chat, another CCL member. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well here today, having a good Saturday. But yeah, this line, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this line here. I think we're going to go into some sort of, maybe you want to bring your queen to f3. Is that a little bit odd?
You can make a move like queen f3 or queen e2 to aim to recapture the queen on d2. That's definitely possible. And yeah, Jason Moorfield is saying in the chat, these guys are pretty good. They are. And that's why they're here. In the meantime, the other games have also started. We have an English in the game between Batsurin and Vasilios. We have a Scandinavian in the game between Grigorios and Tianqi Wang, and a Petrov defense with knight takes e4 in the game between Jonas and Shelev.
Yeah, we'll see how that ends up going. But I am hoping for some very, very aggressive openings from Athens here. Do you think we're getting that just yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we see a Sicilian by Dimitris, but queen g4, by the way, great move by Robby, as it's very awkward to defend g7. You're going to have to make an awkward move like g6 or king f8. You don't really want to do that. So great move there by Robby. And then, yes, definitely on board number 2, we see Vasilios keeping all of the pieces on the board. That's definitely a combative approach there with the black pieces.
Yeah, that is really interesting. It looks like a Dutch or something of the sort there.
Yes, it's... Oh, and Dimitris just took an e3, allowing queen takes g7 by Robby. But I don't know what he has in mind. And Robby is... Bro is locked in, as the people like to say these days. I don't know what black does after queen takes g7.
Yeah, you're just giving up... Yeah, you're just giving up your rook. I mean, there's no real way to prevent that. Although maybe he's trying to threaten queen d2 somehow, but yeah, maybe he's going for queen d6, queen takes, and then maybe bishop d4.
Well, queen d6 would threaten checkmate on d2, but why would just take the bishop?
Just take, yeah, and you don't have anything.
Right, so queen takes g7. I think black is just lost here. You're going to lose the rook on h8, and I think you're not going to have enough. You're going to have to move the bishop back to like c5 or something, let white take and go king f8, but it's just lost. You'll be down in exchange, and the pawn, and after white takes here, okay, queen b6. I think white just takes on e3. If you take on b2, the knight on c3 is defended, so like rook b1, queen c2, queen h8, gg, queen e3, bishop b2, also gg as you lose a full rook. So I think Robby's just clinching the match right here.
Although maybe you can go for some tricks, but it does seem like it was a little too hyper-aggressive there. I mean, it's probably the best try to create some kingside vulnerability and stop castling, and then maybe try to develop. But the bishop can't even come out. Like, all the pieces are still trapped in.
Right, so we've talked about this before, right? Like, what should you do when you're in a must-win situation? I don't think you should go, like, all out recklessly, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. I think what you should try to do is keep the tension, keep all of the pieces on the board, and then you're going to have your chance. But we see here that a quick attack by Dimitris is really backfiring, as he's already lost. And as soon as Robby wins this game, the match will be over.
And you can see on his face, he looks a little bit upset there. Yeah, just giving up that rook, hoping for some counterplay. I do like developing the knight a little bit, and maybe... Okay, yeah, again, castle. You can take the pawn with check, but then the king just solidifies even further. Maybe you can go for b5, something quick, which is exactly what he's doing here. If you are able to open up that A file, you actually might have some chances.
Right, so I like the fact that he's trying to open up some files on the queen side. Maybe Robby can just develop his bishop, followed by rook hf1. Looks pretty convincing. I mean, he's up a full rook. So, by the way, what Dimitri is actually trying to do, he wants to go bishop b7, attack the queen, queen g7, rook g8. That would trap the... Oh, rook g8, there's, by the way, still rook takes d7 if that would happen. So maybe something like bishop e2 could be a clever move by Robby, but e5 take... I mean, this should also be good.
Yeah, and now your attack doesn't look so good. You don't really want to move that knight and give the queen a chance to get out. But takes, and now the bishop develops.
All right, so queen g7, Robby getting the queen out a little bit early. Gives a b4 by Dimitris. Let's see what's going to happen here. I guess then I will jump back to a2 or something. But Dimitris, at least he's fighting to try to keep this game alive. But a full rook is just so much.
It is a lot, but maybe with this position, if that rook can come to c8 or something, you might have a little bit of an attack. You still have to be very, very careful here if you're Robby.
Yeah, the game is not completely over yet, but yeah, queen g3, good move, just bring the queen back. It's really hard for black to keep this game alive. Now, maybe just move the knight somewhere, develop the bishop. All right, so I do expect a win here for Robby. Let's perhaps go back to the bird's eye view to see if Athens has any chances on the other boards.
Yeah, and we would just like to note that SLU only needs half a point to bring home the victory, so this is a must-win for every single player from Athens. They're really going to be doing their best.
All right, so Robby's winning on board number 1. On board number 2, Batsurin is a little bit better, perhaps, but looking pretty even. Tianqi Wang a little bit better with black there on board number 3, and Shelov also better on board 4, so I just don't see it happening for Athens.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Athens might go home. This is a do or die. SLU would be going into the semifinals, which is kind of an expected result, but still, I know Athens had a great chance for a comeback there in round 2, and unfortunately was not able to do it. But I don't know, we'll still get some interesting chess from this last round.
Right, and we have an interesting comment in the chat by Jason Moorfield, chessically inclined. He says the gap between the top 4 teams and the bottom 4 teams in Division 1 has felt massive. And I agree. I mean, I've said it before from the very beginning of the season. I think one of these 4 teams is going to win it all, either SLU, Mizzou, SRM, or UTRGV. I mean, keep in mind that SLU, Mizzou, and UTRGV are also teams that are funded through scholarships. So it's quite logical that those are the strongest teams. And yeah, that's why they're in the playoffs. I think those 4 are going to be in the semis.
So you heard it here. You can actually get a scholarship to college by playing chess. Now, as a kid, if you told me that, I would have thought that was absolutely insane. But there are schools that fund this, and they usually have really strong teams because they're able to recruit from all over the globe. They have great coaches. So it does show that they are able to utilize their players and their advantages pretty well. That might be one of the reasons for that gap. But also we see some teams who have never played D1 before, such as SRM, just doing incredibly well. So it definitely shows that anyone can have chances.
Yep. And as Jason Moorfield is saying in the chat, I mean, Athens is trying, like, solid effort by them, but it's just not looking good. I mean, they're down a lot of points. Also in this round, I don't see them overcoming the deficit. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there are some colleges where you can get a chess scholarship. But, if you want to get a chess scholarship, you do you have to be around grandmaster strength. And for female players, you have to be around, like, let's say, woman grandmaster strength. So the players on these teams are very, very good. But it's great for players that if they aren't able to make it, let's say, to the very, very top in chess, they can still use their chess career to get a scholarship at a good school.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You get your education, you can still play chess. And there are a lot of top players who have who've done one of these programs and then continue to play professionally. So it is pretty interesting. I even heard there's a chess minor at, I believe it's Webster, which is also pretty cool.
Right, and in the meantime, Robby finishes up the game. He wins. Yeah, he's up a full rook. He's going to win even more material as rook g6 runs the rook df3. So good stuff by Robby. He gets the job done. And SLU advances to the semifinals. And yeah, you're right. I think Webster indeed offers a minor. But let's go back to the bird's eye view. Let's see what's happening on the other boards as this match is wrapping up. So I think Batsurin is also winning in his game. Maybe just trade on e3, followed by king f2. Looks pretty... Or rook takes c4, even better, picking up a pawn. Well, rook d2 though by black. Although no, black should be able to draw here as the white pawns on the queen side are disappearing.
And also, there we have it. That is the match. St. Louis is going to the semifinals. They'll be doing probably their best chess, hopefully, going into next week. And unfortunately, Athens will be going home. They're still going to finish up this round, though. And again, the players do not know the results so far, so everyone's still going to act like it is a must-win situation. But yes, it looks like Shelov is doing pretty well here in this endgame. And yeah, all of the players from SLU seem to be doing pretty well. The game between Betsurin and Vasilios might end in a draw, depending on the time management there.
Yeah, that one should end in a draw. Tianqi Wang is better as he has an extra bishop. White does have 2 pawns, so it's not. I can also take on g6 maybe. So definitely still a lot of play left there. Shelov is also better. He has an extra 9, but White also there has some pawns. But yeah, the win is in the books for SLU. But the big matches are really going to be taking place next week, as we will have the semis with the top 4 teams facing off against one another. And then the day after, we will have the final. So it's the semis that we, or at least I, have expected from the very beginning of the season. It's just really hard to say who's going to make it to the finals.
Yeah, it will definitely be really interesting to watch. I'm kind of excited to see what happens there. But it's just the process of getting into these semis. As you can see, all the teams there are really very strong, have been playing well. I think this is a pretty decent match for SLU. They've been playing pretty well. Their team is working well together. So I don't know. How have you felt about SLU's performance so far in the season?
I mean, again, as long as you make it into the playoffs, that's all that matters, and then just win the playoffs and you win it all. But they haven't been super convincing. I mean, they lost against some of the big teams. Yeah, I mean, they went 4 against 3. That's not the best score ever. So I think they could win it all, but I do honestly, I feel like if Mizzou comes at full strength, I feel like they should be the favorites with Antipov, Tari, Luka, and Harshi. That seems like a pretty strong team.
I think SRM might. That would be my own personal prediction based on how they've been performing as for the season. But we will see. We'll see what ends up happening. I think it'll be very exciting. And yeah, it's 2 pawns against a pawn and a rook, which I think this is just theoretically a draw still with good play for Vasilios there. Shelov running a little low on time. He has to speed up a little bit.
Yeah, things went out of control in Shelov's game. He still has that extra 9, but White now has 3 pawns and 2 connected passers on the king side. There goes the c pawn though, but those g and h pawns look very dangerous. And the knight on a2 is completely off. And look at Shelov. He throws his hand up. He's like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But yeah, I feel like this should be a draw.
Yeah, it definitely should be a draw. He has to move really quickly, though. Like, you can't forget about your time when you're going for these drawn positions. Yeah, it can be a little bit difficult.
Right. So rook c4, Jonas offering the trade of rooks. Let's see what Shelov should do. Again, this should be a draw, but it's not that easy to get rid of the c pawn. I mean, if anything, White can definitely still win.
Yeah, this does look a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to say, I feel like Shelov is losing it, and there we see it also from the evil bar. In the meantime, Tianqi Wang we have opposite color bishop there, but Tianqi has 2 connected passers, while White only has 1 passer on the king side. So, rook d4, big blunder there by Tianqi.
But this is also a time thing. Look, Gregorius only has 6 seconds on his clock. Well, he actually, I mean, now he could do it. This was crazy because it was swinging back and forth, but it looks like he's going to get the promotion or the rook or both. I mean, you have to be a little careful not to let them promote, but yeah, this looks pretty decent. And he gets the win, and you see his reaction. Actually, you know what? That would be 2 points so far for Athens if yeah, this is not a bad round 4 for Athens. SLU still takes home the victory, but this is not a bad round 4.
Yeah, Athens wins the round, but SLU wins the match 9.5, 6.5. So nice for Athens, at least that they win 1 round, and also that some of their players get on the scoreboard. But overall, SLU was just a better team, and they definitely deserve to move on to the semifinals.
Yes, we'll see them in the semifinals there, and we'll take a look at the player performance shortly, see how everyone did. But yeah, a very strong showing by SLU, very strong last round by Athens, really kept themselves in the game. It's 9.5 to 6.5, which is a lot smaller gap than we've seen before in this match. Robby 3 out of 4, Demetrius 2 out of 4, Batsurin 3.5 out of 4, Vasilius 0.5 out of 4, Tianki 2 out of 4, Gregorius did very well 3 out of 4, Shelov 1 out of 4, and Ionis 1 out of 4. So just a strong, strong match. Do you have a game you want to show us, Ben?
Yeah, definitely the game we should look at from this round is the game between Robby Kevlishvili and Dimitris Alexakis. So going into this round, SLU was leading by 4 points, meaning that any half a point in this round would guarantee them match victory. And Robby, the team captain, opened up with 1e4, and Dimitris played c5, and he went for the timing of defense. So very combative opening, keeping a lot of play and pieces on the board. H3, a6, knight takes c6, a4. Interesting line here by Robby. Bishop c5 is already mistaken here. Robby played a great move. He played queen to g4, hitting that pawn on g7, which is quite awkward to defend. Black had to play a move like king f8 or g6. Not really moves you want to play. Instead, Dimitris played bishop takes c3, and I don't know if he forgot about queen takes g7. The rook in h8 is just lost. You're just going to lose that rook, and then you'll be down in material. He played queen b6, threatening f2 and the b2 pawn, but Robby just calmly took the bishop, as there's nothing for black. If you take on e3, white goes bishop b2 to block. If you take on b2, there's rook b1. So instead, king e7 was played. Robby took the rook. He came out with his knight, but Robby's just up a full rook here, so black is absolutely lost here. e5 here by Robby, sacrificing a pawn, but the material difference is just so big that it just doesn't matter. Knight d4, queen e1, and Robby did a good job finishing it off. He moved his knight back to b3, developed the bishop, activated the rook, and after he played queen h4, black had to throw in the towel, as there's no way to defend the knight on f6 if you go rook g6 or rook df3, and white wins even more material. So great job by Robby as he wins his game and guarantees match victory for St. Louis University as they move on to the semifinals.
That was a great game by Robby. In fact, we're going to talk to him soon for the interview. So put any questions you have for board 1 of SLU Robby in chat. We'll try to get to your questions. See you soon right after this break.
Oh my God. I don't feel it yet because there's so much spice already in my mouth. Turn the thermostat up. Please, no milk. No milk. No f***ing milk, James. I'm gonna go to the ambulance.
What's up, everyone? Chess is hard as it is, but we're about to make it even harder by playing chili chess. For every type of piece we capture, we are gonna eat a chip with some hot sauce on it, starting with the pawns, knights, bishops, and rooks, a queen, and then the loser of the game is gonna eat this drenched chip over here.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Here we go. And here we go.
Oh man, we battled a lot in the. It's like you're letting me take it, bro. We get
Instant, you must be hungry, bro.
I'm too scared to capture.
Take it, bro.
No, because then we have to eat the.
You know what? Now you gotta eat the freaking chip.
All so big.
Yes.
Oh man. Oh. It feels like I'm inhaling a barbecue. I hate that one.
That's pretty good.
God. That is the official.
Your turn, buddy. Beautiful.
That was weird, man. It's like citrusy, but like
correct.
Kind of tastes like.
You know what? That's exactly what it would taste like.
I'm rolling up mine. We got the end game of the chips. This is
hey,
torture.
which one do I want? Okay. None of these. I'm back.
I like how silent psychological battle. Nobody's drank milk yet.
Right.
We're like, okay. All right. Word looks different when you high on spice.
Oh man, I'm hitting different. Oh, shit's kind of hot to be chilling like that. It's definitely getting hot in this room, guys. You didn't turn the thermostat up?
Oh, I took a pawn, mister.
Oh, you took a pawn. You did. Damn, bro, you catching everything.
Ah! Oh!
Let's check.
Oh my God, I lost on time. No!
Oh, it's not.
Oh my God.
You know. Okay, so the problem is, I don't feel it yet because there's so much spice already in my mouth. So it's probably gonna be like how Magnus said, it creeps up on you. Yep, now it's starting to creep up. I feel it. I feel it.
Oh man.
I'm gonna go to the ambulance. I'm gonna call them people right now.
Hold my hand.
Please.
No milk.
No milk.
No milk. We're doing this with no milk. No f***ing milk, James. So 2 brothers? We in a ditch somewhere?
Yep.
Explosions all around.
No milk. We asked him, I'm like, you need a Band-Aid? No, I need no milk, son. No milk. I'm gonna feel that for a few days, 2 hours.
Bro.
I did, bro. I did. But your brain don't work right with all the spices and
No,
stuff.
man. Bro, I can't feel my fingers. Same time next week?
Sure. It's a date.
Looking for new ways to enjoy chess? Check out our schedule of Chess.com community events today. Mondays, play Rapid Opening Roulette and expand your opening repertoire with a new opening each month. Tuesdays, compete against other Untitled players in Untitled Tuesday. Battle your way to the top in Arena Kings on Wednesdays. And finish the week off each Saturday with the blistering Community Bullet Brawl. All happening in the Community Club on Chess.com.
Obviously, don't go and do that.
Hey, you do whatever you like.
We can't condone anything of the sort.
No, we can't live!
Hello, welcome back everyone to Collegiate Chess League. We have board 1 from SLU, Grandmaster Robby Kevlishvili with us today, and we're going to have a lot of fun interviewing him. Robby, how are you doing today?
Good. Hey guys. Yeah, obviously very happy to win the match, but this is only the beginning. Next week is when it really matters for us.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so next week you guys are taking on SRM. You guys lost them in the regular season. What do you think you guys will need to do better to beat them this time around?
Yeah, I think we were maybe a bit too. Maybe we didn't take the regular season serious enough. But we've talked with the team, and the team is fully aware of how important it is to perform in the playoffs. So yeah, I have full faith in the team, and we'll show it next week.
Is there something that your coach does to incentivize you guys to win? Like, is there going to be a reward for you, good food, anything of the sort?
No, so actually, if we don't win Collegiate Chess League, then we just lose our stipend, we lose our scholarship. No, I'm kidding. But VAR, he makes it clear that we should win Collegiate Chess League, and yeah, he incentivizes us with good food. That's usually what he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll always get some good food when we win. All right, so how do you overall feel about your chances to win it all? I mean, obviously SLU is still a very strong team. SRM is a very strong team that you're facing off next week, but also UTRGV and Mizzou are good. Like, what do you think about your chances?
Yeah, obviously we lost to all 3 teams in the regular season, so it's just up to us to perform better than we did in the previous times, and I'm definitely happy that we don't have to play all of them, because beating all of them would be pretty tough. But we only have we only have to beat 2 of them, which is a lot easier to do.
So Ben said something about you taking an exam prior to this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how it went?
Yeah, so I've majored in finance, and a big certification exam you can do after is the CFA, which me and Gabriela Antova, girl on the chess team, did. Taking full opportunity of trying to progress in the real world as well, professional career. But yeah, that took like 4 or 5 hours this morning, so I'm pretty tired. But I'm happy that I think it went well. I'll hear in about a month. So yeah, happy that I got everything done today, and now it's time to chill.
Okay, nice. Yeah, very impressive that you were able to take like a 4 or 5 hour exam and still were able to play some good chess. I mean, you scored 3 out of 4. What does the team generally do to get ready for the matches? Or do you feel like maybe you guys should do a little bit more? Like you're the captain. Do you feel like maybe you need to force some of the players to play a little bit more online blitz to get ready for these matches?
Yeah, obviously today, Batsurin did very well. And I know that Shelev in his free time, he streams and he plays a lot of online chess, but he wasn't able to, I don't know, maybe he wasn't in the greatest of form. I think I'm also not greatest of form, probably been distracted recently. And I also think if you play too much, you can kind of kind of tire yourself out. So I think we need to find a good balance, but nothing out of the ordinary.
So what will you guys do with the money should you win and the money you've already earned? Do you have any plans for the team?
And I don't think the real answer should be said on stream. But yeah, we'll have a good time. Probably get some food. That's kind of what we do.
Fair enough.
That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great interviewing you, and best of luck in the coming weeks.
Thank you, guys. Hopefully, I'll talk to you guys again next week.
Bye. Thank you so much. All right. That was an awesome interview.
Yeah, it was great having Robby for an interview. Congratulations to them. And yeah, Jules, but look at these matches for next week.
Oh boy, that's gonna be so exciting. We have SRM versus SLU, UT Rio Grande versus Mizzou. Those are some huge matchups here in the semifinals. We'll see who will move on to the finals. Next week's gonna be really big. We're gonna have some back-to-back semifinals and finals. I'm very excited for it. Do you have any predictions, Ben?
Yes, I actually did fill out a bracket. I feel like my predictions are that SLU is going to win and also that Mizzou will win their match and that we'll have SLU versus Mizzou in the finals. That is my prediction. What is yours, Jules?
Oh, I don't know. I think SRM might win, but it will be a close match between SRM and SLU. I think Mizzou might take it home, but it really is anybody's match. It is so close. All of these teams are so close. So we'll see what happens next week. I'm very excited. Join us next week for the semifinals of Collegiate Chess League.